Well, hi, good morning, and welcome, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. Midnight, I saw a midnight for someone in the Philippines. Welcome to the Megacast by Actual Tech Media. Our topic today is choosing a next-generation data protection and disaster recovery solution. My name is Jess Steinbach, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here with you all today for this important discussion. And I want to start with a statement that I think we've probably all heard. In fact, we've probably heard it so much we don't even know who said it originally, myself included. Luckily, Google had the answers for me. So I'm going to start today's Megacast with a quote from the Greek philosopher Heraclitus. "The only constant in life is change." This is true about many things in our lives, and I'm sure a few of us have occasionally wished that we could just hit pause for like a minute and just take a moment to maybe either enjoy a bit longer or to breathe and recover. But that change just keeps on coming, and nowhere is that more true than in the industry we have all chosen. So either we're all collectively adrenaline junkies, or just a bit crazy, maybe a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B on that one. So today we're going to focus on an area that seems to be even just a bit changier than even the most rapidly evolving elements of the tech world: security, protection, and recovery. So let's start with a truth we all know. As the threats evolve, so do the tools. We grow, we adapt, or we find ourselves at risk. So that constant growth is what we're here to talk about today. There's a lot to this topic, and luckily we will be joined by top innovators from Zerto, TierPoint, Rubrik, Micro Focus, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nisuni, and Unitrends. These awesome experts are here to talk to us about the current trends in innovation in data protection and disaster recovery, and what you need to know to stay up to date in this ever-changing world. Now, if you have not joined us for a Megacast in the past, a very special welcome to all you first-timers out there. Actual Tech Media created the Megacast and EcoCast series to help educate technology professionals like you on the latest innovations and trends in enterprise technology. So these webinars are designed to get you the hottest insights and up-to-date information efficiently from the comfort of your home or office, wherever you're choosing to work today. Megacast and EcoCast allow you to pose and answer questions, to connect with other experts in your field, and to help you solve your most pressing technology challenges. So that's a lot of stuff. Now, before we get into our exciting sessions, there are a few things that you should know about this Megacast. Now, if your eyes went right to that little prize icon, hang tight. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But first, I want to draw your attention to the questions box in your webinar control panel. Now, if you haven't already said hi, we love seeing all you awesome folks connecting from around the world. So give a wave, say hello to your friends out there in the actual tech community. We've got lots of great questions coming in today about favorite colors and favorite tartans and weirdest pets. So, you know, I love those connections. The questions console, also a great place to let us know if, knock on wood, any technical issues come up today. Keep in mind, a browser refresh is likely going to clear out any of those usual tech gremlins. But if not, just shoot us a message over live chat, and the actual tech media team will be there to help. Now, most importantly, we want this to be an informative webinar for you, which means that we want to see all of those technical questions. So throughout today's Megacast, we hope you will get engaged and make sure to ask all the questions you have about data protection and disaster recovery. I know there are lots. We'll also have dedicated Q&A sessions at the end of each presentation. Now, a reminder, if we do not get to your question during the live webinar, don't worry. The awesome humans from Zerto, TierPoint, Rubrik, Micro Focus, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nisuni, and Unitrends will be following up with you afterwards. Now, we all know that good things should be shared. So when, during the course of the webinar today, you have that awesome aha moment, be sure to tell your friends. You can use that Twitter button right there in your audience console. The hashtag for today's Megacast will automatically be added to your post. And while you're exploring your audience console, I want you to look at that. So we were talking about the questions box earlier. Right next to it, the tab right next to it, is the handouts tab. Make sure you click around in that handouts tab today. It is just an info pack collection: data sheets, fact sheets, demos, product briefs, ebooks, and lots more. So click around, explore. You can download and open, save those for later. Now, for anyone that I haven't met, as I said earlier, I'm Jess Steinbach, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be a moderator for this discussion today. It's going to be so exciting. And even better, I will be joined momentarily by my fellow moderator, the wonderful Scott Becker, who will be here to chat with us in just a moment. But before we get into Scott, I promised you that I would come back to those prizes, and I meant it. So we do have some awesome prizes for you today, including 5 Google Pixel 6 Pro phones that we will be giving away to 5 lucky winners. And that is not even including the $500 Amazon gift cards that we're going to be giving away every 30 minutes. Now, the fun does not end there, because those of you who know us know that we love those questions from you. In fact, we have actually added an additional prize. So we are giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked, and that is in each one of our sessions. Again, even if we don't get your question in the live webinar, we will be looking at them. We review all the questions after the fact, so we'll follow up with you after the webinar. So please do keep those questions coming in. Now, I'm going to throw up a few quick reminders here on the screen. The most important thing is that you do need to be live at the webinar today. You do need to be here with us in order to qualify to win. If you're not sure about the T's and C's, you want to check on those, you can click back to that handouts tab that I mentioned earlier. Scroll down to the bottom. There's a full T's and C's list there. Also, keep in mind that all winners are required to submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. So let us know if you have any questions about that. And if you are a winner today, you also have the option to donate the value of your prize to one of our selected charities that you can see up on the screen. Thanks to generous prize winners on previous Actual Tech Media webinars, thousands of dollars have been donated to these charities. So if you are a winner today and you would like to get involved with one of these amazing organizations, let us know, because we would love to help make that happen. Now, again, we're pretty happy that you're here with us at the live webinar today. We want to keep that good feeling going, so make sure to connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and Facebook. We definitely want to hear from you. While you're out there exploring, be sure to check us out on YouTube. Lots of great content for you there, and also on LinkedIn. No shortage of fun places to connect with us. Now, speaking of exciting content, if you have not already checked out the Actual Tech Media Guerrilla Guide Book Club, where have you been? I mention it every week, so if you haven't done it yet, today is the day you're going to go do that. Head on over there. You get access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle or mobile device, and they are all completely free. So you can download those awesome resources at guerrillaguide.com. There's actually a link, again, in that Handouts tab for you. I told you the Handouts tab is jam-packed with cool stuff, so head on over there. Now, today we started out by talking about change. One thing that actually does stay constant is how much we love hanging out with all of you. We love that, and we want to keep getting to know you and your community. So another great way to win a prize is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. You're going to find a link to do that right there in your Handouts tab. The Handouts tab again. And you'll actually get automatically redirected at the end of the webinar again. And I do want to assure all of you out there, because I'm sure this is on your mind, we promise not to spam your friends or your colleagues. We will send them an invitation to a list of upcoming webinars. If they don't get back to us, we'll give them one more tiny little nudgy reminder, and that's it. Then both you and your coworker or friends could win a $300 Amazon gift card. We hold those drawings every month, so be sure to refer a friend. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Okay, well, that's it for the webinar prep, so let's start getting into our sessions. And to kick us off today, I am so excited to introduce, or I guess reintroduce, someone that many of you probably already know and love, my fellow moderator, Scott Becker. Now, Scott is here today to talk to us about one of our very favorite subjects, and that is all of you. We've got some awesome data to go through, but you know what? I'm going to let Scott explain all of that, so take it away, Scott.
To kick off today, we wanted to share results of a major data protection survey that we did earlier this year at Actual Tech Media. This was a survey of about 800 respondents back in the first quarter. Some of you may have seen this survey when we sent it out, and we appreciate your participation. We asked about 29 questions. It was a pretty comprehensive survey. Today, I just want to take you through some of the most interesting results. One of the big things that we asked is, if your organization had to recover from a major data outage, how long would it take to get back up and running? I mean, this is the core question in data protection, in backup and recovery, and in disaster recovery. It doesn't get any more fundamental than this question. If you look at this pie chart, it goes clockwise from the shortest time to the longest time to recover. The gold standard in the survey is the darker blue in the upper right. So that represents less than 4 hours, and almost 20% said that they were there. That's pretty good. The red and the green in the middle there, the red is 37% of companies, and they're looking at 4 to 24 hours for their recovery period. The green is 27%. They're between 1 and 2 days. Then you get to the gold in the light blue, and that's where things are getting worse. Gold is up to 72 hours, and light blue is more than 72 hours, all the way up to infinity and bankruptcy court. Think of that wedge of the graph as the part that involves a lot of screaming from the C-suite. Thinking about this another way, a little more than half of respondents expected to be able to be back up and running inside of a day. The rest would need more than 24 hours. So that gives us a nice level set of what our peers are estimating for a time frame when it comes to getting back online from a data outage. So here's an interesting one. What does your business tell customers when a recovery is underway, but before that recovery is complete? So I love the error messages on the outdoor gear shopping site, backcountry.com. They're always entertaining, and that's where this one here comes from. But it relates to something that we asked, which was this: when a recovery gets underway, what happens to your customers until it's complete? Companies are variously doing 4 things. They give customers a message about the outage and ask them to return at a certain time. They provide them with links to alternate mechanisms. They provide automatic status information from applications and servers when customers attempt to use those. Or they have people reach out to the customers to keep them notified. And all of those responses were in the low 40 to mid 30% range. So a lot of companies are using those efforts in combination. But only 7% of respondents don't have any kind of action in place during that recovery period. We always like to ask our expert presenters how often they recommend that backup and restore capabilities get tested. If you haven't tested a restore of your backup, you don't have a backup. So it looks like a lot of respondents agreed. The top answer here was weekly. 20% are testing that often. That's great. Another popular answer was quarterly at 18%. Not bad. Now, daily, monthly, and yearly were about tied at 13 to 14% each. That's amazing on the daily side, great on the monthly side, and a bit lax on the yearly side. Finally, some people are not checking. About 10% admit that they're not checking failover, failback on a routine basis. As you might expect, compliance and governance requirements are a driver here. We asked, how well are your data protection policies aligned with compliance and governance requirements? The blue here represents very much aligned. That's 51%. The red shows somewhat aligned. That was 42%. So you add those 2 slices together, and 93% of data protection policies are aligned with compliance and governance requirements. We asked what controls organizations are using for data protection, and they came back in this order. First was anomaly detection, with about 2/3 of organizations using it. Use of audits of privileges on the one hand, as well as monitoring of sensitive files and IP on the other hand, were each in use at more than half of organizations. Finally was exfiltration checks at 44%. So given the high percentages of all those options, obviously people are using these types of controls for data protection in a layered and overlapping fashion. We're talking about both data protection and disaster recovery. So data protection involves making extra copies of data to protect it. And disaster recovery, on the other hand, refers to the plan and processes for quickly reestablishing access to applications, data, and IT resources after an outage. So we wondered if organizations consider data protection as part of their incident response or as part of disaster recovery / business continuity operations. And the answer was split almost 50-50, with a slight edge to classifying data protection on the DRBC side of the ledger. We also wanted to know how organizations were implementing backup architecturally. So we asked, is backup delivered as SaaS in an appliance or as classic software? The top response was appliance-based backup with cloud failback coverage, and that was 48%. Next was classic software deployed locally at 43%. Then we had appliance-based backup local only at 40%. A little bit behind that is SaaS at 30%. And then finally, there's people mixing classic software and cloud as a backup target. So overall, a really interesting mix of the available options. Just two more data points quickly that are interesting. Does your organization support self-service portals for file or directory level recovery? Yes was 58%, no was 42%. So it's a solid majority there on the self-service side. The final point, you hear a lot about agent versus agentless and data protection solutions. So we asked, does your backup solution use agents or connectors? And the current state weighs very heavily toward the agent side. So 79% are using backup solutions that have agents, and 20% are on solutions that aren't using agents. Now, there was a lot more data in the actual Tech Media survey, but we hope these data points give you some insights into how your peers are approaching these complex issues around backup and disaster recovery, and that these results give you some tidbits that can help you benchmark your own data protection posture.
That is awesome, Scott. Thank you so much for walking us through that data. And a giant thank you to everyone who participated in that survey when we sent it out. Please do keep feedback coming our way when we send out those surveys or during our sessions. This is how we continue to get to know you all and to make sure that we're bringing you the information that is most relevant to you and your organization. So it's really important to us. Now, speaking of getting to know you all, as you can see, I have put up a poll question for you all. We want to know, when someone asks you, what do you do? How do you answer that? Are you in IT, or are you in tech, or, you know, something else entirely? And if it's something else entirely, write it in the chat box. We'd love to hear that from you. I think that question for some of us is more complicated than others. I know sometimes when I say webinar moderator, I get like, oh, cool. And then sometimes I get blank stares. So if you are somebody who considers yourself in IT or tech, we want to hear about that. If you have a totally different category you'd put yourself under, please do let us know in that chat. Again, this is just really interesting information for us. Okay, I see a big screaming majority for IT department. So we've got a lot of IT folks in the house today. Okay, you know, because we're feeling a little bit jazzy today, I'm going to ask you another question. So what we're wondering here is, what is your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? So what we're talking about today, obviously, oh, where'd our poll go? Here we go. What we're chatting about today is everything related to, you know, disaster recovery and data protection. When do you think your company would like to take action on some of the solutions that you are going to hear about? Now, if you don't know, if you're not sure, that's great. That just means we've got a lot of room to get you some information today that might help you make that that decision. But if you do have a time frame, let us know. We're just kind of looking to get an idea for how imminent this is for you. Are you guys looking ahead? Are you planning ahead? Or are you thinking right in the here and now? Okay, so thank you to everyone who took a moment to fill out our polls, our double polls today. And I think it's about time to get rolling with our sessions here. So up first, our very first session of the day, we're starting off with a bang. We've got not one, but two awesome experts. So today we are going to hear from Mike Nassas, Product Marketing Manager at Zerto, and Jeremiah Anderson, Lead Solutions Engineer at TierPoint. Mike and Jeremiah, thank you both so much for being here to get us started today. Now, Mike, I know you're going to kick us off, so I will hand the mic right on over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Mike Nassas, Product Marketing Manager at Zerto, and I'd like to take the next 10 minutes or so to talk to you about how Zerto can help you achieve an uninterrupted 24/7 business, and why customers just like you trust Zerto with their most critical of digital assets. After that, I'll pass it off to my friend Jeremiah Anderson, who is the Lead Solutions Engineer at TierPoint. So let's get started. If we look at the hybrid cloud landscape of Zerto, first and foremost, we have our private cloud, the virtualization side, which is still very popular, replicating from site A to site B and from site B to site A, all with minimal impact to your environment, with industry-leading RPOs of seconds and RTOs of minutes. From there, we also see that people are starting to adopt the public cloud and various other cloud providers for their disaster recovery backup requirements. Now we can replicate out to not only the public cloud, but also managed service providers like TierPoint that offer disaster recovery as a service in their own environment as well. We can also replicate to more than one place at the same time. We can have up to 3 different copies of the same data going to 3 different places. You can have a local copy going between the 2 data centers that you still own. You can have a secondary copy going out to a public cloud, and then you can have the 3rd copy going out to a disaster recovery as a service site that a provider like TierPoint offers. This really provides you the ultimate flexibility and protection, and you can even choose which of your apps go to which site. From there, we have the disaster recovery within and between clouds as well. So just because you're running apps inside the cloud doesn't mean that you aren't vulnerable or susceptible to threats like ransomware, attacks, and outages. So we still have to make sure that we're prepared. And we even can back up within and between clouds. We store data inside the cloud environments. So how do we ensure that that data, like SaaS apps, are protected as well? We can achieve all of these great things with this simple scalable solution that we offer. And of course, you have the freedom to move and innovate across on-premise and cloud environments. So at the heart of it all is what we call continuous protection or continuous data protection, CDP. Recovery using very granular points in time to minimize data loss to seconds with very little downtime and drastically reducing the impact of disruption. No matter what cloud platform you use, we really have you covered. This continuous data protection or CDP utilizes journal-based technology to keep a log of all the changes occurring in a specified time frame, which offers point-in-time recovery in increments of seconds for the entire length of the journal. This ensures protection for any app, cloud, or threat. Now, what underpins CDP and what really makes it possible is this block level replication. So we have near synchronous replication, which we believe is the best of both worlds. It's less costly than synchronous replication, and there's also no performance impact like with asynchronous replication with snapshots. And because we sit at the hypervisor level, we are a software only solution and can be hardware and storage agnostic. So you simply set it up, replicate, and it stays always on to keep you always protected. Now, part of what makes the continuous data protection with Zero so powerful is the unique journaling capabilities we have. This tracks every change and logs it as checkpoints every 5 to 10 seconds. Just being able to capture a write or an IO does not mean you have true CDP. It has to be paired with a dynamic, hyper-efficient journal, like the Zerto journal, which tracks every single change made in your application or on your server. And it logs these checkpoints every 5 or 10 seconds, even when you have hundreds or thousands of servers. This innovative journal can store the change data for 1 hour up to 30 days, and it offers you unmatched granularity when it comes to recovery. Whenever needed, you can simply easily rewind to an old checkpoint and easily recover from that exact point in time. So, for example, if ransomware hits at 10 a.m., you can roll back to 9:59 and 55 seconds and completely mitigate that infection. Now, to solve for the challenge of recovering complex enterprise apps, you need to protect your VMs as one cohesive unit. That way you avoid the inconsistent recovery of applications where each VM is being restored to a different point in time. Our app-centric recovery approach really protects and recovers at a granular level in the same state that you left off for all of your apps. So you can protect and recover these complex multi-VM applications together as one cohesive unit to the exact same point in time. And this, of course, saves a ton of resources when you're trying to reduce the amount of time dedicated to recovery. The core of it all, what Zerto really boils down to are these three major and really simple differentiators, right? First one, resuming operations at scale in minutes, right? Easy recovery of sites, applications, VMs, and files with our journaling technology, and an app-centric recovery as a cohesive unit, as well as things like 3-click failover. Secondly, recovering to a state seconds before an attack. Things like always-on replication with our industry-leading RPOs of seconds and RTOs of minutes. And of course, de-risking your recovery with instant non-disruptive testing that really only requires a few clicks, and you receive a wealth of information from automated reporting to data forensics or post-attack testing. Now, if we can switch gears for a minute and take a look at a real life scenario, I think this will help really paint the picture of what Zerto brings to the table. Now, one of our customers, Tenkata, they're an industry leader in protective fabric and textiles. They were using an antiquated backup tape and disk system as their recovery solution before they adopted Zerto. They were subsequently hit with a ransomware attack, and they faced a minimum of 12-hour data loss and up to 2 weeks of recovery time. Now, the services they provide are far too critical for this long downtime, and the impact on revenue was tremendous. That's where Zerto's continuous data protection comes in and really changes the game. They shifted their business continuity disaster recovery strategy to Zerto's continuous data protection instead of the backup tape. And what happened was they were actually attacked with ransomware again, except this time it was after they implemented Zerto. And instead of their entire file server being affected, only the directories on one file server were affected. They went from facing 12 hours minimum of data loss to only 10 seconds. Again, I'll say that again. They went from a 12-hour data loss to 10 seconds. And instead of taking 2 weeks of recovery, it took them under 10 minutes. Now, I'd like to pass it off to Jeremiah so he can talk to you about all the great services that TierPoint can offer.
Thanks, Mike, and thank you everyone for joining today and allowing me to participate. My name is Jeremiah Anderson, and I'm a lead solutions engineer for TierPoint. I have around 20 years of experience in the IT service provider space. What I'd like to do first is tell you a little about TierPoint, who we are and what we do, then dive in further on our business continuity and disaster recovery solutions, and specifically how we partner with Zerto to deliver our industry-recognized DRaaS solution. So TierPoint is a data center, cloud, and managed services company, really with a security-first approach embedded into every service that we provide. We have one of the nation's largest data center footprints with over 40 purpose-built facilities, all of them interconnected by our own fiber backbone with speeds up to 100 gig. We also have cloud on-ramps to the major hyperscalers that are accessible in each of our data centers. This geographic diversity and high-speed connections really enables us to deliver practically any IT transformation outcome our clients are looking for, including our next-gen DR services. This slide outlines our large portfolio of services, ranging from simple colocation and device monitoring, all the way up to managed cloud, security, and recovery solutions, including our focus today, DRaaS. We offer managed services for public cloud environments in Azure and AWS, and apps in Microsoft 365. We even offer managed services around very specialized systems like IBM, SAP, and VDI. We have a highly experienced professional services arm of the company that provides consulting and advisory services across the entire portfolio. This slide is everything we do, but should not be confused with we do everything. We'll meet you where you are on your IT roadmap and can provide as little or as much assistance as needed. Speaking specifically about our DRaaS service, we've been doing it a long time and have a very mature soup to nuts practice, from initial client onboarding and implementation to ongoing support, testing, and overall runbook management. We make DRaaS projects, which are notoriously complicated, an easy and pleasant experience for our clients, all while delivering the cost benefits of OpEx over CapEx and significantly reducing our clients' maintenance and administrative costs. When you choose TierPoint as your DRaaS provider, you're choosing a proven and industry-recognized recovery services expert. We've been honored to be Zerto's Growth and Managed Services Partner of the Year in back-to-back years. We have over 1,000 active DRaaS clients, protecting over 13,500 VMs. Lifting up the hood on our DRaaS solution powered by Zerto, there's a few areas I'd like to highlight and explain. One is all of our DRaaS environments are built and maintained on best-in-class infrastructure hardware. Nothing is cookie cutter here, and we'll work with you to design a solution that's optimized for your environment. We deliver on very aggressive RPO and RTO requirements with a financially backed SLA that calls for 10 VMs to be brought online every 15 minutes. So you can just do the math based on how many VMs you would have that need protected. We can protect workloads to dedicated private clouds in any of our 40 plus data centers, or clients can target our multi-tenant cloud pods that are strategically located in 8 of our data centers, geographically dispersed across the US, and benefit from economies of scale. We also support hybrid deployments that leverage a mix of all our cloud types. All our DRaaS cloud environments are hosted in TierPoint hardened data centers that adhere to best practice physical security and maintain several compliancy standards, including PCI, HIPAA, SOC 2, and many others. Customers with high security requirements or stringent compliancy regulations can greatly benefit from this during their audits. Our managed DR testing is done non-disruptively, utilizing Zerto's isolated sandbox testing that Mike outlined earlier. This allows us to not stop the replication during a DR drill. For clients that are more hands-on, we do support self-service DRaaS and self-service DRaaS testing, while our most popular is definitely our fully managed DRaaS, where clients get to benefit from our dedicated team of DR experts. Now, a hot topic on everyone's radar is ransomware. Like Mike outlined earlier, Zerto is a great tool in the fight against ransomware on many fronts, and we're proud to use it here at TierPoint as a primary part of the arsenal we deliver for clients to combat the effects of ransomware. Diving a little deeper into how we help our clients address ransomware, we really take a multifaceted approach. On the front end, we look to fortify a client's production environment to prevent the ransomware from getting in the first place. Utilizing a true defense in-depth approach, we'll layer our managed security services like multi-factor authentication, next-gen firewalls and web application firewalls, threat intelligence and event correlation XDR services, all of our security services monitored and managed via our multiple SOCs and Enterprise Operations Center. We also do security awareness training for users to address what's frequently exploited as the entry point by bad actors. But even with the best security in place, ransomware can still find its way in. And that's why it's critical to have a proven disaster recovery solution in place. And again, ransomware is a disaster event and should be treated that way. You need a dependable DRAS program you know has been thoroughly tested with a regularly updated runbook and a DRAS partner maintaining the overall health and wealth of the solution. Here's a snapshot of what you can expect the experience and timeline to look like during a ransomware event, comparing traditional DR, or recovering from backups, and TierPoint's DRAS powered by Zerto. Now, I'll first say it's most important to have a recovery solution in place, period, but as you can see, the time it takes to bring the DR environment online and the amount of data loss is exponentially less with our managed DRAS. And really, we'll typically see backup recovery take significantly longer than a day. And since backup recovery is rarely tested like our DRAS, the amount of data loss is days, if not weeks, to find a valid recovery point, where data loss with our DRAS is typically seconds. Following up on one of the Zerto pillars that Mike mentioned earlier, we'll also frequently use Zerto to deliver the cloud mobility our clients are looking for. We do this via cloud migrations, either from client premises to TierPoint, other managed service provider clouds to TierPoint, or what's becoming more and more popular is moving workloads back and forth from public cloud environments. In closing, we strive to partner with our clients in achieving their desired recovery solution outcomes. We're going to go in depth during the planning phase and really help you think through and capture all the nuances of a detailed solution design. Many of these details are commonly overlooked until the end and cause issues resulting in manual work and reconfigurations. Things like user access to the DR environment can be assumed as straightforward, but often require more considerations around network architecture and routing. These are details we hash out during planning and implement to be orchestrated during failover. We'll also provide consulting services related to business impact analysis and overall business continuity planning regarding specific DR declaration events like ransomware or weather disasters, and even have options for BCDR seating and office space in our data centers if needed. We have a dedicated team of DR engineers that focus on the care and feeding of your DRAS environment, validating the replication of your workloads, maintaining your runbook, and testing the solution regularly. Your team should be focused on the disaster and not bringing up the DR environment.
Hey, Josh.
So with that, I want to thank everyone again for your time today, and I'll pass it back to the host for any questions you may have for Mike and I about Zerto and TierPoint DRAS.
Well, hey guys, thank you so much for that amazing presentation. So much fascinating information, and we are getting inundated with questions coming in already. I do want to get to those in just a moment, but I do want to point out to everyone in the audience today that I've put up a poll question for you all. We would love to get your feedback on any additional resources that you would like to explore from Zerto and TierPoint. This feedback is so valuable, so please do make sure that you take a second and answer that poll for us. And we've got Mike and Jeremiah here with us still to answer some questions. Are you guys ready to dive in?
Yes, ma'am. We're ready.
Okay. All right. Well, you definitely got everybody's brains buzzing because we got lots. I want to start with this one because it was asked probably about 5 different ways by 5 different people, even in just the last few minutes. Can you dig in a little bit to differentiators and uniques about your solution?
Yeah, I'll take that one first. It's Jeremiah with TierPoint. Yeah, I saw the question about the differentiators from other DRAS providers. I'd say, there's 3 primary differentiators. One is the number and diversity of the data center footprint that we have in the U.S. We also leverage the public cloud providers for any DR targets that we need to leverage that are outside the continental U.S. But the fact that all of our data centers are interconnected by a high-speed fiber backbone really enables us to support DRAS at a very high output perspective from RTO and RPO perspective. And then just, the longevity that we've been providing the service. I mean, we've been providing it for well over a decade, industry recognized for, the majority of that time. So that's what I would say is the primary differentiators that we have here at TierPoint.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add in? No, we nailed it. Well, perfect. Okay, I do also want to dig in a little bit. I think you guys answered this fairly well, but again, because we got quite a few questions from people wondering about on-prem and cloud and hybrid and just multiple destinations, can we just clarify and make sure that there's no issues with sort of how the different approaches people are coming?
Yeah, I'll take that one too. So hybrid, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud use cases are becoming increasingly popular. That's what we're seeing here at TierPoint. Probably is turned into more the norm. So absolutely not. That is not an issue. Whether we are, and it's very common, right, that we have our clients that are leveraging workloads at their premise, in our data center, and in hyperscalers, in public cloud. So that is, that's a use case that we're very comfortable and familiar with. It's our go-to, if you will, is clients that are going to leverage our colocation and data center services, our managed cloud services, and then, burst into a hyperscale presence as well. So yeah, absolutely no issue, and we welcome it.
I love that. Sounds like you guys can do it all. We did have a question wondering about sort of with continuous backup, if there's going to be any issues with bandwidth.
So yeah, I'll take that one. Normally, we definitely want to scope in the bandwidth utilization requirement that goes along with backup, but utilizing a tool like Zerto that has compression at the source environment and in transit of that data, it really helps mitigate some of the bandwidth constraints and saturation that you'll typically see with backups. So that really will help mitigate a lot of the bandwidth constraints and issues that you would typically see in the past. But still, with that said, we really want to take a consultative approach when we're looking at these solutions initially, and design in, an adequate solution that's tailor-made for our specific client. And part of that is the network requirement and the bandwidth requirement for the source data that we'll be backing up or replicating to us.
Well, and so as I mentioned, we have a lot of questions coming in. It sounds like there's a lot of different ways that people can tailor this to make sure that it's going to work for what they need. We did have a question from Mark wondering about the types of support that would be offered. He's wondering about 24/7 phone support, online remote control support, offline local solutions for products. Now, you had mentioned training during the presentation. I'm wondering if we can just speak to the kind of support that folks in the audience could expect.
Yeah, great question. And that's really what we want to pride ourselves on, is that, we meet you where you are. So really the level of support that our clients are looking for, we have some clients that are very hands-on and they want to take a more self-service approach and then reach out to TierPoint for questions or break fix or issues that come up. We support that. So we do support self-service support models. We have, definitely our most popular is our fully managed soup to nuts support model, which is 24/7. We have multiple enterprise operations centers and security operations centers that support our solutions. And that's really a soup to nuts complete management experience for our clients. We still, obviously we're collaborating with our clients with DR. It's a very collaborative process initially, but also through the life cycle of the engagement. But yeah, so phone support, email support, portal. We have, a client self-service portal as part of our DR solution. So really as involved or as hands-off as our clients want to be, that's support topology that we'll support here.
Well, that's fantastic. And like I said, I we'll have to kind of wrap there, so we will not get to all the questions that came in, but please do keep in mind that the Zerto and TierPoint teams will be following up with you, so you will hear back from all the questions that came in. And I don't know if you guys have some time right now. You're welcome to stick around on live chat. Before you run away, Mike and Jeremiah, if somebody wants to get started right away, they want to learn more, get more info, what do you suggest? What's their first step?
First step is to go out to our website, www.tierpoint.com. Actually, we've recently redone our website, so we're pretty proud of it. So that would be the first step. There's some links on there that you can reach out to our sales organization, and it's also there's a chat feature there. So step one would be go out to our website and let's get the conversation started.
Perfect. I love that. Well, thank you guys again for being here with us today, for taking the time to answer some questions. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, up next, you guessed it, folks, it is time for a prize giveaway. To kick things off, we have a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give away, plus one of those $500 Amazon gift cards. All kinds of exciting giveaways. I'm going to remind you again that you must be present at the webinar right now here with us in order to win. All right, so let's start out with that Amazon gift card. Our first lucky winner here with us today is Jim Taylor of Missouri. Jim Taylor of Missouri, you've won an Amazon gift card for $500. And our very first grand prize winner of a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone, boy, that's hard to say, is Thomas Gentry of Indiana. Thomas Gentry of Indiana. Congratulations to Jim and to Thomas. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after the event. Now, don't forget, there's still lots more chances to win a prize today, plus that best question gift card from each session. But for now, we're going to keep cruising right along in our sessions, because up next, I am so excited to introduce another awesome expert in our Megacast, Laverne Wilson, Inside Sales Engineer at Rubrik. Laverne, thank you so much for joining us here today. I know you have a lot of awesome content to cover, so I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you.
I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's session. Also, congratulations to the winners of those prizes. I'm a little jealous about the Google 6 phone personally. So let's go ahead and get started. First note, however, I want to say that I am actually in the office today. This is a rare event. So if you happen to hear a little background noise, my apologies. I'll do my best to make sure to keep that in mind as we go through this. So today, we're going to be discussing, or rather I'll be discussing, Rubrik and how we're able to protect your environment as it relates to your data and offer cyber resiliency, so that while it's great to have backups, I think it's important to be able to recover from those backups. Now, before we actually jump into it, there's a few points that I want to highlight as far as information is concerned. In the last 18 to 24 months, an overwhelming majority of cyber events, particularly ransomware attacks, have involved encrypting backups. The one item that I always ask when I speak to new customers is, what steps have you taken to harden your data protection environment? And unfortunately, a lot of the customers I speak to, their initial response is, well, we have a backup. Well, that's awesome. Having a backup is the first step. I would say, again, beyond just having a backup, have you tested the backups? What steps have you taken to ensure that those backups are available in those break glass situations where there's an absolute emergency? One of the longest steps in recovery is determining the impact to data. So when you have a ransomware event, typically the scenario goes, you receive the note, and then you start to look at and determine, hey, what can we do to determine the scope of the attack and what data is safe and what data is not safe? Another consideration is the climbing trend of data exfiltration. I think a lot of the bad actors in the world today who are instigating ransomware attacks are also capitalizing on the fact that if they are able to exfiltrate data, is the data that's been exfiltrated sensitive data, and so thereby effectively leveraging additional revenue streams for themselves by not only encrypting your backups, but also holding your data and determining how much they think it's worth for you to not have that data released. Personally identifiable information, sensitive data, is it in scope, and what are you doing to ensure that your data is safe? During a recovery event, one of the questions that cyber insurance companies ask is, again, what is the sensitive data impact? They need to know what their risk posture is in the event sensitive data has been exfiltrated. What do they need to do to proactively get ahead of it? What do you need to do to ensure that data was not impacted? And beyond that, having all those particular measures in place, or perhaps in place, is have you tested what recovery times would look like in your environment? Oftentimes, again, just based on my personal conversations with customers that I've dealt with over the last 2 years, the answer, unfortunately, is no. They haven't had a situation where they've done a full recovery or a test of their environment to ensure they're able to recover if something were to occur. So oftentimes this leads to the fact that they have not instigated or instituted a formal ransomware plan. So to sort of put together steps to be able to recover as quickly as possible. So if you do not have a plan in place, I recommend formalizing a plan, putting something together so that you, yourself, and the appropriate team members know what steps to take. Unfortunately, the other option is if something happens, what do you need to do and how quickly do you need to move? So first slide, we're looking at Rubric Evolution. So when we initially started as a company, we were founded in 2014. And one of the initial products that the company brought to the market was specific to backing up VMware environments. Now, since then, of course, our portfolio has grown, and we've developed into a security and cyber resilience product so that, again, not only is having a backup good, but being able to recover with those backups are better. Pioneer of zero trust, we absolutely stand by the fact that at the core of our product is a zero trust posture. And with our integration into the cloud, we offer easy integration into most S3 compatible cloud archival targets. And again, with our product, a hardened on-prem chassis, we are security at the point of data. Let me advance the slide. So we already know this. Fact is, cyber events are on the rise. And a lot of organizations are taking the time to sort of beef up the stack, as you see there, as far as hardening their perimeter, taking steps to secure their network, ensuring their endpoints are protected, and also application. I think, however, one trend that we've noticed is that as much as you may spend on the outside, bad actors are able to, with some level of sophistication, breach these particular layers of security and get to your data. And this is an unfortunate byproduct of the era that we live in. There's been a huge surge in the number of people working from home, the number of people that are working remote, the expansion of businesses to secure robo-locations. And in those examples, when you have additional layers, those particular layers could potentially become threat vectors. And so our recommendation, of course, is ensuring that you take every possible step to not only have your data protected, again, more importantly, I believe, is being able to recover your data in the event something were to occur where your data is either encrypted and or exfiltrated for extortion purposes. And again, I think with the bad actors that are out in the world today, whether they're individuals, organizations, or state-sponsored entities, that they have nothing but time on their side. And to instigate a ransomware attack for them is just a simple matter of flipping a button or leveraging an off-the-shelf ransomware as a service opportunity. You know, one person could spin up a VM in a cloud instance and start launching ransomware attacks at corporations at the push of a button, essentially. So as we move forward, Why are organizations stuck paying ransom? So here's how we typically see this play out. Your data is locked in. You receive the dreaded ransomware notice. Option one, you immediately go to pay the ransom and hope that the decryption key will free your data of the malicious code and ultimately provide you access to your data in a timely manner so that you can maintain business continuity. Option two, and again, this is something that we see frequently, is attempt to recover. Now, in this particular scenario, we normally see a motion where you have two teams engaged in taking steps to be able to recover from the ransomware attack. You have IT operations and another team, normally security operations. Now, each of these teams typically take different steps to determine the recoverability of their data. And oftentimes, when this occurs, you have a protracted engagement. I think recent studies have shown that a typical ransomware attack normally results in 21 days of time necessary to recover if they're able to recover fully. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't think a lot of organizations will ever be in this position, but 21 days of downtime is not a good posture to have to adopt to. Consider your revenues lost in that particular time frame and the ultimate impact it would have in your financial well-being. I think there are horrible stories that are currently in the market today that illustrate that if a company or organization is hit by a ransomware and it's a protracted engagement, they are often left with no resource other than to sort of restart everything, and that can be challenging. So we want to make sure that you are in the best position possible to be able to recover. Now, ultimately, with either of these two options, if it results in paying the ransom, another unfortunate outcome of paying the ransom is that organizations who have paid a ransom typically, not always, but typically find themselves attacked again, and oftentimes within 6 months. I think the reason why this occurs is if a bad actor has been successful and the outcome is the payment of a ransom, they share this information. And by sharing this information, another bad actor can essentially purchase the details of the original attack and then institute the same attack that was provided previous to, again, hold that data for ransom. And we don't want that to happen. So with our product, we see ourselves being on the leading edge of cybersecurity. Infrastructure security and data security together to provide zero trust security. So within the infrastructure footprint, we have prevention, detection, and investigation. Within the data security footprint, we see resilience, observability, and recovery. We'll actually go into a little more of those particular items, but in concert, across the board, with all those items working together in a singular product, we have zero trust security. And again, and I can't say this enough, having a backup is great. Being able to recover those backups is even better. As we advance the slides, the next item we're going to be looking at is identifying the fact that it's time for a new approach. Again, relative age of our company and how long we've been in operation compared to a lot of our competitors. We are fairly new, and as such, we were born in the age of cloud. So as our product and portfolio has evolved over the last several years, we see additional layers of protection that we can offer to our customers, specific to data resilience. The question asked, what if you could cyberproof your backup data? Again, this goes back to the position of having a backup is great, but recovering the backup is probably even more so important. Data observability. What if you can monitor risk and investigate threats quickly? Again, with our particular approach and the way that we're able to harvest the metadata across your environment, during our backups, we're able to apply some additional layers of business intelligence around the collection of that metadata so that we're able to provide you the opportunity to determine, what data was in scope, what is the potential blast radius of a ransomware attack, and what particular items are available for recovery as quickly as possible so that you're able to get back to a good position. Again, just to reiterate, data resilience, data observability, data recovery, as reference to the fact that having backups are great, being able to recover those backups, I believe, is probably a key ingredient into your cyber resilience posture. Now, what if in your ability to recover, you're able to get back to good quicker than it would normally take through traditional methods? So we're going to advance. So as it relates to our position, data resilience, secure your data from threats, whether that is internally or externally. And so with our products, we offer an air gap solution with immutability, with access controlled backups. We have a natively developed file system. And with that natively developed file system, which is based on a highly modified Debian kernel, we offer you the opportunity to leverage immutability across the board. Now, of course, everyone has some level of immutability. And oftentimes, in order to leverage that, you typically see an additional layer that needs to be added to the solution to be able to provide that. With us, the immutability is native to our product. It was one of the key elements that was in scope when the product was developed. Let's see, and the great thing about our product, another item to consider is that we have encryption available. That's native again to the product. The encryption is of the data in flight or at rest. Retention lock, so there's no way to disrupt the backups. One of the sort of the threat vectors that we oftentimes see is if a bad actor is able to gain access into your environment or your network, they could potentially artificially manipulate your clock. Oftentimes with other products, the software that's running would oftentimes leverage the internal clock on the device that it is residing on. And with that vulnerability, bad actors could potentially manipulate the clock in such a manner that it will expire the backups. They'll go in, we're in 2022, they manipulate the clock to reflect 2052. And then suddenly, as backups begin to spin up, you'll notice that the backups are slowly disappearing. With our solution, we actually avoid this particular threat vector by leveraging a monotonic clock. Now, monotonic clock is not entirely new to us. It's been around for a long time. And essentially what a monotonic clock is think of it as a stopwatch that cannot be manipulated. And it is not privy to or required or incumbent upon the clock that is on the system on which it resides. It is tied to the backups themselves. So there's no way to artificially manipulate the time in such a manner to expire them. And another element that we have available is a logical air gap. Oftentimes, organizations in referencing or leveraging an air gap typically employ a 3-2-1 sort of methodology, where you have 3 copies of a backup with two different media, and oftentimes one of the media is tape, in which case the tape is removed physically from the environment. I don't know about you. I know from my previous days of leveraging tape, recovering of tape can be a bit of a process and take a little bit of time. And so with our approach with a logical air gap, because the data that we've ingested is first immutable, it is an append-only file system. So it does not present itself on the network in any recognizable format, SMB or NFS for that example. And as such, we alleviate the requirements around leveraging tape. Now, unless there's a specific need to do so, yes, we do have integration that allows you to leverage tape if it's a mandated or requirement based on your industry that you reside in. Sorry, looking for that next button. So, data observability. The ability to monitor your data for ransomware events, sensitive data exposure, and locate indicators of compromise or IOC. Again, as we perform our backups, we are continually monitoring the metadata associated with those backups, and we're able to leverage additional layers of intelligence based on the collection of that metadata and applying a little bit of our product in such a way that provides customers the ability to not only see the potential initiation of a ransomware attack, but also provide customers the opportunity to determine if you have sensitive data that's in scope and out of compliance from within your environment. Oftentimes, with the growth of data, and it's been exploding over the last several years, you'll notice that files contain sensitive data, and the data that's sensitive is out of compliance from within the specific guidelines or models that you have within your environment to lock down that data. I think in the last several years, all of us have seen examples of organizations that have been not only hit by a ransomware attack, but also the leaking of sensitive data. Sony is one example. Apologies for anyone who might work at Sony. That happened a few years back. Home Depot, another example, and the list goes on and on. With our products, and again, with our capabilities around harvesting the metadata, we're able to provide you insights into your posture to determine if you have sensitive data that's out of scope, and if it is, to proactively take the necessary steps to ensure that it is protected so that it is not taken out of your environment for data egress, and then, again, leveraging that as an additional revenue stream for the bad actors that are currently doing the things they do. And an additional layer that we have is specific to leveraging YARA rules. So with our particular product, threat hunting, we're able to leverage YARA rules, and so that you're able to then supply whatever the particular string happens to be, to look for and scan your environment to see if you have any IOCs currently within that particular model. Data recovery. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the ability to help our customers in the situation where they may have been hit by a ransomware attack, and allow them not allow them, poor choice of words, sorry, but have them leverage the resources available within our product to be able to recover quickly. So we can recover in bulk, or we can leverage a surgical recovery, whether it's your apps, files, whatever the case may be. We want to ensure that our customer is able to recover their data safely by quarantining infected data that's been infected by malware, spinning up VMs as quickly as possible, providing you access to the most recent clean copy of your files so that you're able to maintain business continuity, and recovery applications, again, either in bulk or singularly, with pre-built workflows or disaster recovery plans. So one of the other products that we have available currently is what we refer to as app flows, so that essentially allows organizations to preemptively put together a plan, sort of consider it an easy button, so that in the event something were to occur, you simply leverage the plan by clicking the button, so to speak, and then a predetermined set of rules are leveraged so that those workloads then spin up at a DR location. And so on that particular piece, we do have a product that was recently announced at our Forward event a few months ago, and it is our Rubrik Security Cloud. It is a SaaS-based application that brings together all the elements of our positions to protect your cloud-native workloads, your on-prem data center workloads, and your SaaS application specific to M365 on a single managed platform, so that you're able to leverage all of the nuances of what we're able to do to ensure that your data is protected. so that you're able to, again, get back to a position of good, maintain your business continuity, and ensure that the lights remain on. So that is Rubrik Security Cloud. Quite proud of it. We are extensively doing some training internally amongst the SEs to ensure that we have the proper knowledge to be able to share that with our customers. And so with that, I'll say thank you. Absolutely appreciate your time today. And I'm almost certain that I did not take up the entirety of the 20 minutes. So with that, I'll hand it back over.
Well, we are right at time, Laverne, but I'm going to sneak in a question here because I do think it's an important one. And while you guys are listening, please do take a moment to fill out the poll that's up on the screen here. We do want to know what further information, what additional resources you would like to get from Rubrik. So please do take a minute and fill that out. Okay, so question for you, Laverne. Is there, and this is coming from Yoshika, is there a cap on how much data this product is able to cover and protect?
Currently, no. There is no known cap. We do have existing customers specific to the financial industry that are running multiple petabytes. And so our product is delivered on a hyper-converged chassis. So it scales, and as it scales, you have appreciable improvements in performance in terms of its ability around recoverability. So we have no current top end. I'm waiting for the day that we have a customer that hits an exabyte, but I'm sort of looking forward to that, but it hasn't happened yet.
Challenge extended from Laverne to all of you out there. Well, as I said, I do wish we could keep going here. We are running a bit short on time. I do want to ask you before you run, if somebody is looking to get started with Rubrik, and in fact, we did have one person out there, I think it was Mark, who was asking, he's got clients, he might be a consultant that he's also bringing into tools and solutions like Rubrik. So for somebody like him who's looking to pass on information and get to know which clients it's going to be best for, or for someone that's thinking about it for their own organization, how do they get started? What's the best first step to learn about these different solutions at Rubrik?
Absolutely. I wish I had a better answer, but I think the sort of catch-all is go to our website, www.rubrik.com. First, peruse our product to get a little bit of an insight into it, and then click the Contact Us button, and a member of our team will absolutely be reaching out to you so that we can set something up, either in terms of providing you additional information or getting you in contact with a resource internally to begin that conversation to better develop a plan to assist you in whatever it is you may potentially need from us.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's simple but true. Go to the website, book a demo, explore. There's lots of great, as we heard, the Rubrik team is fun and lively, so go and connect with them. And there's still some amazing questions in here. I don't know, Laverne, if you have some time to stick around on live chat. I do know for anyone that asked a question, the Rubrik team will be following up with you, so you will get some answers about that. And hopefully, Laverne, we'll get to chat with you again soon. I hope you have a fun day in the office.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, again, and I appreciate the time.
All right, well, and for those of you that are absolutely on the edge of your seats, I will not keep you waiting. We do have another prize giveaway right now. So we are giving away a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone, which you just got the thumbs up from Laverne on, so clearly a good prize giveaway, plus a $500 Amazon gift card. Reminder that you must be present at the webinar to win. So let's start out with the Amazon gift card. Our next lucky winner here with us today is Anita Joshi of Virginia. Anita, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our next grand prize winner of a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone is Alex Adams of California. Congratulations, Alex Adams of California, and to Anita Joshi of Virginia on your gift card. As always, we'll follow up with you after the event here. But for now, and I'm speeding along because I really want to get to this next session, I am so excited to introduce another exciting expert pair in our Megacast today, another double whammy. So next we will be chatting with Ken Lamb, Senior Product Marketing Manager and Data Protector, super cool title, and Craig Smith, Worldwide Go-To Market Manager at HPE Complete. Another cool title, two super cool humans. So let's get started. Ken and Craig, I will hand the mic on over to you.
Thank you very much. Yep, my name's Craig Smith. Ken and I are going to tag team this presentation today. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the partnership and the things that we're doing between HPE and Micro Focus to deliver enterprise level backup and disaster recovery solutions into the marketplace. Some of you may be aware, and some of you may not be aware, we actually have quite a unique relationship with Data Protector at HPE. So Data Protector was actually born at HPE many decades ago, all the way up until about the midway point of 2017, when HP decided to spin off its software business and merge it in with Micro Focus. So we have a lot of people that were all part of the one HP team at one point or the other that still work together. So a lot of the relationships, both on the software side and on the storage portfolio side, still work together today. We have that common legacy and rich history together. So we work extremely well together. Post-spin merge, because we shared so many thousands of customers, joint customers together, we wanted to make sure that Data Protector was brought into one of our strategic partnership programs called HP Complete. And we really have three focus areas within HP Complete that we know deliver a significant amount of value, especially for Data Protector customers. And I just wanted to share kind of what those three areas are at a very high level, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ken so that he can really provide you some great information on the latest releases of Data Protector on their capabilities. So the first one area is completeness. So what we do there is that we know that it's not just enough when customers' projects for backup and recovery that you just be able to provide hardware and software. We do provide the hardware, obviously, and we do provide the Data Protector software as part of our HP customer price list. But we also make sure that our advisory and professional services team have the capability to help you with your projects, regardless of where you are in the journey of the delivery of that project. We offer two flavors within the advisory and professionals organization. One is the kind of fixed price, fixed deliverable engagements that are very easy to consume and engage. And then if those professional services capabilities do not meet the capabilities of or the needs of your project, we have custom statement of work capabilities as well, where we'll tailor the delivery of your project to your specific needs. And then finally, our goal is to really hand off a incredibly successful deployment, but also to make sure that we're training your teams adequately enough where you can take it over once we leave. So that's kind of where we focus on the completeness charter. The third area is really competence, and this is where Ken and I do a lot of work together, but one of the unique things that we do is that we have integrated teams across three functional areas. So the first area is going to be the product management side, where we're maintaining all the proper products that they're delivering as part of the SKU list within Data Protector onto the HP price list. So anything new coming on and anything that's going to get retired, we maintain and manage at that product management level. We have our solution engineering teams fully integrated. So we have four areas of our portfolio that Data Protector touches. The HP Cloud Bank, the HP Store Ever, the Store Once, and our storage array business. And so we're constantly sharing roadmaps and plans coming down the pipe. And then we'll use the HP Lab equipments that we have deployed all around the world to give them access. So when you're thinking about major release of products, whether it be on the HP side or the Data Protector side, we work to either make sure that that level of validation is either completed before either one of us releases the products into the marketplace or very shortly after the products are released into the marketplace. And then finally, we focus on developing convenience for ways for you to consume the solution from both HPE and Micro Focus. Convenience used to mean, just being able to, purchase everything through a single source. but it's broadened so much more than that over the years. And now customers are really looking to have these solutions delivered as a service. So this past year, we announced, the Data Protector being added into our GreenLake service offering, which is our private and hybrid cloud solution. And we're able to replicate cloud-like experiences, both being able to provide capacity ahead of the demand, but we're also able to also deliver the pricing models based upon cloud consumption where you're paying for only what you're consuming. And this was something that we added into the portfolio earlier this year to give you guys more choice. So as you're kind of thinking about, your projects for protecting data and disaster recovery within your business, I'm hoping that, the, Data Protector and the combination of the HP partnership, you'll give us opportunity to, give us a good look, because I think you'll be really happy with what we're capable of delivering to support your project requirements. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ken and let him bring you up to speed more on the Data Protector today.
Great, thanks, Craig. I'm sure everyone has heard of HP and HPE and understands the reliability capabilities of that company, and it's great to be a partner with them and a very tight alliance we work very closely on. But I could imagine most people probably have not heard of Micro Focus or know very little about Micro Focus. I'm going to do a very quick introduction of it and then dive a lot more deeper into Data Protector. So Micro Focus is actually one of the largest pure play software companies in the world, certainly one of the largest that no one's heard of. And Micro Focus owns and develops a very wide range of software products and has expertise in any of those associated areas. And the products cover everything from COBOL and mainframe software to operations management, security, data analytics, and artificial intelligence. And then basically there's many different products there, and can add significant value to any business and its operations. We've got employees throughout the world, as well as offices in 45 different countries, and the products are used by most of the top companies in the world, as well as just the direct sales force and development. We have an extensive partner network as well, and of course the key strategic alliances with major companies such as HPE. So certainly if you're not familiar with Micro Focus, it's definitely worth having a little look and getting to know them a little bit better. But there's two other numbers I want to just sort of pull up quickly. As Craig mentioned, 2017, Micro Focus acquired HPE software, and with that came what was HPE Data Protector. And Data Protector itself, as again Craig mentioned, it's been about for many decades, and in fact is over 32 years old. Was initially developed as OmniBac with Apollo Computer before HP developed those, acquired it through that. And HP has been developing Data Protector over the years as part of the storage group. So there's a very tight integrated understanding of the two products extremely well together. So with that, let's dive into Data Protector a little bit more itself. So you've got a good understanding of what we look at and how we basically view Data Protector and data protection. So on the face of it, backup is straightforward. You identify what it is you want to back up, and some examples of that are shown on the left, whether it's hypervisors or your storage infrastructure. Perhaps you've got data in the cloud that you want to back up. And then, of course, there's applications themselves, SAP HANA, Oracle, SQL Server, and then more recently, things like Microsoft 365 or online applications. So really, whatever data you have, wherever it resides, you want to be able to protect that and back it up. And then another aspect of that is, where do you want to back it up to? And again, that comes down to, is it something you want to back up onto infrastructure, onto storage, onto virtual machines? Do you want to back it up in the cloud? Cloud is becoming increasingly trusted and used storage medium for data backup and just general usage, and whether that's public cloud or private cloud or hybrid. Certainly you want to be able to choose where you put in that data. And then as well as the cloud, which basically can be anywhere. If you are wanting to put it onto infrastructure, are you going to up locally for performance reasons, or do you want to go to remote locations, remote sites for more protection and more of your disaster recovery reasons and rationale for that? And then the media itself, it's interesting. The more I talk to people, tape backup was something that was starting to fall out of favor a little bit a while ago, particularly as cloud started to come along and the advantages of performance and flexibility of that. But more and more companies are looking back to tape. And again, that really is driven by the need to secure your data and your backup. So that's really where the third aspect comes in, securing it all. So being able to secure that data, being able to secure the data, whether it's in transit, whether it's at rest on your backup media, and also being able to secure backup solution itself to make sure that that is not going to be compromised, not allow any hackers, cyber attackers to be able to get access into it and start disrupting it. So if we just sort of look at these things in a little bit more detail, what do you want to protect? The infrastructure, your VMs, your applications. Where do you want that data to be protected from? So you want to be able to obviously protect the data that's in your data centers, but also your remote offices and what you've got in the cloud. You want to secure it, apply things like encryption. You've probably heard of immutability, so that once it's backed up, you can't erase it, you can't alter it until a set period is passed. And then you want to use secure communications for all of it, and restrict access to only those that are authorized to access that data and access your backup systems. And then there's a number of different other things that you can apply on that to make sure that you're commanding a secure environment and protected from any unwanted attackers. And then possibly the most important aspect of any backup operation is basically if you're not able to restore all the data in a timely manner, then all the steps before it are meaningless. You want to be able to do granular restore, so single files or folders or volumes can be recovered through to full disaster recovery, including bare metal restore and restoring to different media. In some restore functionality that help are things like automated disaster recovery to quickly and easily restore not only the data, but also the system state to bare metal server should either a server in a cluster fail or perhaps a whole system or site is compromised. For virtual machines, the ability to do power on from the backup itself and operate directly from there gets operations back online quickly, and then a migration back to a new production system being performed in the background before switching operations over from the backup to the new production system. And then one very important aspect that we feel is having application consistent backup and restore. When you've got a deep integration with your applications, such as what Data Protector has, you're able to quiesce the data, you're able to quiesce the whole application, back up all the data that is being operated on, as well as the system state. And what this means is when you come to restore it, you're able to do an application consistent restore and get your whole systems back up and running again. So staff are not having to rebuild the system and get it back to an operational state that it was in before everything fell over and you needed to go back in and get it back into a recovered and operating state. So let's have a look at the products in a little bit more detail. There's two sort of primary products within the Data Protector suite that I want to just sort of touch on and talk about. Data Protector Premium, this is our traditional Data Protector offering. This is what was part of HPE along. This is where you have the really tight, deep integration with the storage infrastructure. This product has been developed over many years and is very reliable. and capable, whether it's unstructured data you're looking at, the applications and the deep integration that's there, or whether you're looking at more recent integrations such as with hypervisors or the cloud. And then, of course, because it's been about for so long, we cover a full range of operating systems. So again, it allows you flexibility in your environment and also provides you that knowledge that your environment, regardless how diverse it is to meet your own operational needs, there's a backup solution for that. And then Data Protector Premium has this deep integration and key backup capability to the storage infrastructure, whether it's onto the storage arrays themselves, to disk, to tape, or out to cloud targets, which has become an increasing use case for many operations now. Cloud workloads is our most introduction, and this is where since we moved on and acquired the product from HPE, we've been investing some considerable effort, and this was recently introduced. And this is really going on to the next stage, and this is what maybe many people think of as the next generation of platforms that are being used. So when you look at hypervisors, you know, it used to be VMware and Hyper-V from Microsoft, but now there's an increasing number of hypervisors available that are trusted, that are very capable, and they offer capabilities. And you don't want to be restricted in what you use. You want to be able to use whichever solution or software product is best for your operations. And Cloud Workloads offers one of the widest range of hypervisor backup capabilities. Beyond that, we offer backup capability for containers. Containers have been about for a little while now, seen some adoption, but particularly for Kubernetes, Proxmox, OpenShift, we now have a backup solution for all of those. And then, as already mentioned, your applications are starting to move online, and things like Microsoft 365, whether it's Exchange, Teams, OneDrive for Business, the backup capability exists there now using Cloud Workloads. So two aspects of Cloud Workloads as well is the backup destinations. Because cloud has been adopted widely, and again, there's an increasing number of cloud offerings available, whether that's public cloud, private, or hybrid. We offer great integrations with a very wide range. So again, it allows you the flexibility within your operations to use whichever cloud provider meets your needs, and we can hook directly into that and use it. So you're not restricted just because of the backup that you're trying to perform. And then if you want to use anything that's available in the Data Protector Premium offering, so going into the infrastructure, you want to go to the tape backup, there's a simple provider that just connects the Cloud Workloads directly through Data Protector Premium itself, and you have the full capabilities of Data Protector available there for you to use. So no backup presentation is valid these days with a slide on ransomware. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this and you're going to hear a lot more about it, but I just again wanted to sort of touch on this just so that you've got a good understanding of what Data Protector can provide on this. Obviously, there's the 3-2-1 rule, which you've probably heard of. Always make 3 copies of your backup data on 2 different media, and ensure one of those is off-site, or more specifically now is offline is really the recommendation for that. And to be able to achieve that number 1, this is a key one to really protect your data. A number of different backup types are available. It has to be offline, you know, the offline or air-gapped, you know, get it away from the network. No matter how secure any network may say it is, or whether it's in the cloud, if there's a connection to it, it is vulnerable. Cyber criminals are incredibly intelligent, and they're always developing new methods of getting access to the data. So regardless of where it is, if it's connected, at some point they will find a way to it. Once it's disconnected, that should be it secure, but Maybe you want something there that is still connected. You want to be able to get quicker access to it. This is where things like immutable backup or possibly worm media come into play. Mutable backup, already mentioned, that is where the data itself is backed up, and then for a set period of time it cannot be changed or erased. Worm media, less used these days. This used to be things like optical discs and so on, but it still has a valid play in these days when you want to be secure. And then the different methods. I've sort of mentioned these already. For sake of time, I won't go into them in detail, but you want the flexibility to back up to cloud. There's cost savings or performance savings. There's flexibility savings here to be able to spin up or spin down storage need as you want it. Backup to disk offers the highest performance, being able to put onto the storage infrastructure. And this is where things like our relationship with HPE and the integration with the HPE storage platforms come into play. But then increasingly backup to tape is coming back into favor just to provide that level of security. And again, the integration with HPE that Data Protector has in the history for tape libraries and tape drive backup solutions provides a very wide choice for you. And then different aspects of the 3-to-1, the backup replication, being able to make multiple copies in different sites really is something you want to make sure is available there. And of course, you want security on top of all of that. So really getting close to sort of wrapping up. What is next generation backup? That's what the whole series today is all about. When I first thought about this, it really touched on two things. Can you support the latest technologies? The hypervisors, the clouds, the containers, the online applications. You want to maybe be able to make sure your backup solution supports those. But the other aspect is protection the latest threats. When Micro Focus acquired HPE Data Protector 2017, ransomware was really just coming onto the market. It wasn't such a big deal. I've got a screenshot that I used in other presentations from 2017 of the WannaCry virus, and on there actually says your files will be unencrypted for a payment of $300 in Bitcoin. If only it were at that level these days. We know it's multiple millions of dollars to get your data back if you're infected and you have no way to use a backup to restore your systems. But there are other aspects that you really want to consider for any next generation backup. Performance is critical. The data continues to grow exponentially almost, and our backup windows do not get any bigger. So you want something that is able to provide that performance and really scale with your storage needs. You want to be able to have a deep insight into your back operations, make sure everything's been backed up on schedule. So you want a good reporting capability. And then key is being able to restore your backups quickly and reliably so that you've got your data back there as and when you need it. And then just a couple other things. You want your backup to meet your IT need. Having a single solution makes things an awful lot easier for your IT department as far as training, costs, licensing, compliance, and so on are concerned. And then whichever solution you use, you want it to be trusted and you want it to be a proven backup solution that many companies use. And really, you want something that offers full support and has the resources to keep you operational. And that's where things like the Alliance and the relationship to HP Complete and Data Protector can provide a good, trusted solution for you. So just to wrap up, additional resources, we've got lots of these available for you. The easiest thing is to go online, hpe.com for anything on HPE itself, or microfocus.com for anything Micro Focus, but specifically microfocus.com/Data Protector will get you straight to the Data Protector product overview page. So with that, I'd just like to thank you on behalf of Craig and myself for listening to this presentation.
Oh man, thank you both so much for that awesome presentation, Ken and Craig. We have a lot of great questions coming in. I do want to point out, as always, we've got that poll question up for you. We really want to know what your feedback is, what additional resources you want to explore from Micro Focus and HPE. This is incredibly valuable. This is your direct chance to connect with these teams, so please do take a minute and answer that poll. Ken and Craig, thank you guys for sticking around. Unfortunately, we are very short on time, so I'm probably just going to have time for maybe one question. I don't know if you guys have a minute to stick around on live chat and kind of get back to some of these, and I do want to assure everyone, as always, these questions will go directly to the HPE and Micro Focus team, so you will get an answer whether it's today or shortly after. Guys, I just want to check with you both because there was a few, we actually got several different questions kind of wondering about what can actually be backed up. So I just want to make sure we address this. We had questions about virtualized infrastructure in Office 365, email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Salesforce, different computer models. So maybe just give us a quick overview of, sort of what can be backed up here.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough one to give a comprehensive answer on. Yeah, Microsoft 365, definitely all the online things there. Some of the other online applications, we are working on those if it's not already available. But I'd suggest go to our website, microfocus.com/dataprotector. At the top of that page, there's a link to the data sheet that has a lot of information on it. Cloud Workloads has its own page, so just scroll down to the bottom of the Data Protector page. You'll find a link to the Data Protector for Cloud Workloads page, and then that has a link to its own data sheet. So I'd love to go into more detail. I understand there's not much time, but yeah, look at the website, the data sheet, and then get in touch with us if any follow-up questions. We'd be more than happy to help you. And again, free trial versions can be downloaded of both Data Protector Premium and Cloud Workloads from those websites.
Well, that was fantastic. You just already took my next question. My last question was going to be how people get started. I think you've just answered that, and it sounds like there's some great opportunities to kind of get hands in the sandbox. So I love that. Well, thank you guys both so much for being here, and thank you to everyone who answered the poll as well as asked some great questions. As I mentioned, this team will follow up with you. We really appreciate the time. We got some high fives and congrats on an awesome presentation from the audience as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, Ken and Craig, thanks for being here with us, and we're going to keep zipping right along. So next up, we have a prize giveaway. Always an exciting transition here. I know you guys are on the edge of your seats. We have another Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give away. Wow, I'm getting better at that. That's faster. Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give away, plus an Amazon gift card. A quick reminder that you must be present at the webinar to win. So let's start with an Amazon gift card. Our next lucky winner here today is Ray Crago of Texas. Ray Crago of Texas, you've won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our next grand prize winner of a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone is Marcus McNally of Tennessee. Marcus McNally of Tennessee. Congratulations to Ray and to Marcus. As always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after event. I want to remind you all again to keep getting those questions in because we do have that $50 best question asked. Even if we don't read your question out loud, there's still a chance to win that. Okay, speeding along to try to get us back on track here time-wise. I am so happy to introduce our next exciting presenter in today's Megacast, Jeff Hera, Vice President, Global Solution Architect at Nist. Jeff, I know you have a ton of awesome content for us today, so the platform is all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, to get started, all the work that's been done by the actual tech media team, so I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the investment of time by the folks that are attending this presentation, and hopefully you find it valuable. So my topic for today, alrighty, there we go, is achieving next generation data protection and disaster recovery with Nist File Data Services. And as pointed out on the slide, I'm Jeff Hera. I lead the Solution Architects team at Nist. I've been here about a year and a half now, but I also have 30-year relationship with data protection. I was beginning in 1992. I was on the IT side for 8 years, as a backup administrator and a manager responsible for data protection, and 22 years of vendor side experience, 9 of those being in data protection and the remainder being in primary storage, but always concerned about data protection because that's the name of the game. So I've been noodling on this problem for 30 years. So before we get started today, I'd like to set a few concepts out in front. My focus today is going to be on unstructured data. That's what Nasumi helps people work with. We have a file data services platform that consists of a file storage platform and that relies on object storage as the fundamental underlying technology. And we also have ways to add services to that. We'll talk about that as we go along today. But that's obviously what we help people out with, but it's also, in my opinion, the largest challenge to solve with respect to data protection and disaster recovery. Also, on the topic of disaster recovery, I'd like to redefine that for everybody. Historically, we would tend to think of a disaster as something that had a really wide scope, but a disaster can be a really important piece of paper, single file, like an endorsement to an insurance company policy that results in a billion-dollar claim. So we're going to talk about disaster in terms of everything from every data loss from any cause, from a single file or volume to an entire facility. Now, as I said earlier, I've been at this for 30 years, which seems like a long time, and well, it is a long time. But when you think about backup, it had been in business for 40 years before I started to become associated with it. And this year, 2022, happy 70th birthday to the backup system. So how this all came about, in 1952, we had the UNIVAC 1 was acquired by the U.S. government in order to assist with U.S. population census and helping them in crunching those numbers. So the challenge was, and you'll probably note the familiarity with this, the tape media that they used for the primary storage was prone to wear. And so they decided to protect the data by making a copy. Not a super elegant solution, but totally worked at the time. And based on the technology, IBM stepped up and created this thing called the IBM 726 magnetic tape writer reader. And you'll see an image of both the UNIVAC and the 726 there with their operators. So while the copy of the data was an adequate solution at the time, and the logical model remains the same today in many cases, it works in certain circumstances. So we've been working with this for 70 years now. So basically, you take a data source, you use a backup process to move it to another type of data or another type of media from the original data source. In the process, you translate the data into a format that the backup system can index and recall. And then you hold on to that media for a rainy day, whatever that is. And should there be a rainy day, the backup system helps you find the data, translate it back to the native format, and transfer it back to the source location. All right, that's a little pedantic, but we wanted to start with that in our minds. And there have been improvements in the underlying technology for backups. Many of the vendors that you've seen present today have addressed some issues with keeping file data in a native format so it can be quickly accessed, et cetera. But the logical model hasn't changed, and it breaks down when you start to think about the unstructured data issue. Basically, the growth of unstructured data has outpaced the model. So what are we facing now? And this slide really resonates with me in terms of an analogy. I live in Southern California, and I try to get out surfing as much as possible. And when you're surfing, it's about making the wave, successfully making the assessment, paddling into it, dropping in, and racing down the face to kick out of the back side of the wave so you can go do it again. When done well, it can be immensely rewarding. It's a great thing if you get the opportunity to do it. When not done well, if you'll permit some surf lingo, you're going to be put in the washing machine and you're going to be held under that wave, and that can be less than a rewarding experience. So it isn't too different in the data protection realm. As depicted on this slide, there's massive file growth, and we've all seen the charts, so I won't review them here. But I have clients with tens of terabytes, hundreds of terabytes, and even tens of petabytes. you can't back that up, and you certainly wouldn't want to try to restore it in a traditional sense. Now, also on this slide, ransomware, that gets talked about quite a bit, and because it's a reality. And it's even getting worse now because obviously with people working remotely, the surface area exposure has increased more than it has, over the last, it's increased more in the last few years than it has previously in history. So, and then there are also other folks accessing their data from anywhere, and it's difficult to navigate how you secure that data while they're working on it, disconnected, and while they're connecting to the system. So look, this is a difficult wave to navigate, but we have the benefit of some new technology and a new way of looking at data protection to help us make this wave. Okay, so the next generation, it's not just data protection, and it's always good to start with a definition. And while I like to define things, I think Nist does a pretty good job of it, so we'll rely on their definition. It's a cybersecurity framework, and it includes 5 things: recover, identify, detect, protect, and respond. Now, where we intersect with that is with protect, detect, and respond, and recover. Now, in terms of a next generation data protection solution, the service should include things like a single instance data durability that is sufficient to essentially eliminate the need to back up unstructured data. This means that the primary data footprint is so reliable that no backup system is required for the restore recovery that you might need to do. Again, with unstructured backup, backing up a petabyte and expecting a recovery is not a realistic outlook. So it's also got to have things like limitless number of immutable snapshots. This means that the concept of storage technology imposed snapshot limits, whether that be in a physical array or a cloud instantiation of a virtual storage array, even at 1,000 snapshots per volume, when you think about it, at 4 hours or 4 snapshots a day at 6-hour intervals, one has 250 days of protection, and ransomware is more patient than 250 days in many cases. And recreating 6 hours worth of work in certain circumstances in unstructured data would be a business impacting situation. So I doubt that 4 snapshots a day is reasonable to start with. And then the system has to be equally adept at recovering a single critical file loss as it is for recovering from a total disaster like the proverbial meteor strike. So all within the same fundamental underlying service. And yes, it has to be capable of detecting and responding to threats in addition to the historic protecting and recovering capability. And all of these should be integrated as services on the storage platform itself. So the question is, how does one make a single instance reliable? That's question 1. Well, you do this with object storage. And object storage, well, it addresses the original challenge, and that's what I like about it. We didn't, with hindsight, you can say, hey, if you'd addressed the original media issue and made it very, very reliable, you could have addressed this, the original need for backup. But that's not the way it went down. But now we have object storage, and it is, like I said earlier, it's the storage media for the Nisuni platform. So this can be on premises, but by and large, it's in the cloud. It's Amazon, it's Azure, it's the Google Cloud platform. That's as hard for me to say as Google Pixel 6. In any event, what we do is we leverage that unbelievably reliable and durable storage platform, and we provide access to that through an edge device. It's virtual, it's physical, and it can be anywhere. It can actually be instantiated in the cloud as well. But why this makes sense in object storage, it typically starts with 11 nines of data durability. It starts there. So that translates to the following. You can see in the call out on the right. If you unpack that, if you store 1 million objects, you can expect to lose one of those objects in a given 10 million year period, which is quite a long time. And all right, so 1 million objects is not really a lot of objects now with unstructured data growing like it is. There could be 1 billion objects or more. And for 1 billion objects, the time is reduced to 100 years, still quite a long time. And but it can be increased. you could lose one object if you have 1 billion in 100 years, but if you wanted to increase that protection, you can have zone redundancy and other things to begin to increase those 11 nines of reliability. And I haven't worked on the math with reliability of some of the other, tape media and things like that are, but 11 nines is a lot, and multiplying that by 2 is a lot. In fact, my wife, who's a research scientist and knows something about statistics, was approached by me with a question over the weekend to say, if I had a replicated system and I had one lost object on one side and another lost object on another side that happened due to bit rot or something like that, what are the chances of it being the same object across 1 billion? And she just looked at me and said, it doesn't matter. And typically I get a much more feature-rich experience and explanation out of her. So in any event, it's very reliable. Now, why is it reliable too? It doesn't rely on RAID. It relies on erasure coding, which is a way to distribute the risk of a loss of a piece of an object across a much broader area than a typical RAID group. So what that means is I can have an object that can be distributed throughout a data center across 15 different physical hardware devices, or it can be in a cloud somewhere across multiple different zones in different geographic areas. And that's one of the reasons why it's super reliable. If I lose one of those pieces of the object, let's say through bit rot, it's got a self-healing capability. So it checks things typically and says, hey, you've lost this one component of 15 components in an object, and we will recreate that without you having to intervene with it, which is a pretty cool trick. So if I lose a disk drive, or if I lose an entire shelf on an on-premises object store, it doesn't matter. It'll recreate it somewhere else in the environment. So those are fundamental and key to why this is so reliable. Of course, object storage defines scalability. It's fun to search and try to find a limit in Azure and Amazon and Google, because you get statements like, yeah, we really don't have one, basically, which is a cool thing, because that makes your life as an administrator, even as a storage administrator, very easy, because it's basically one big target. All right, sounds perfect. Well, it's not. There are some challenges with object storage. And, it doesn't, primary amongst these, and as somebody who used to work for an object storage provider, it doesn't speak NFS and SMB. So it would require application and process rewrites to accommodate the REST API. And that's not an easy undertaking. So second, it's in the cloud, and that's far away. Right? And it means that user performance experience can suffer. And finally, really, it does one thing really well. It grows. Well, a few things really well. It grows, it's scalable, it flexes up and down, and then it's super durable. But outside of that, it doesn't have a ton of enterprise file features, and we're all used to having those. So how do you accommodate that? Well, that's where Nasuni comes in. Okay, now you can see I made these slides up. There's a typo. I'm sure Amanda has already seen it. She's in our marketing team on the call here. So this should say advanced file system features. So in all candor, I do know how to spell that word. Oh, but we'll move on from there. What we want to do is, what Nasuni does is brings the enterprise file system capabilities to object storage, including these that are outlined below and more. So data protection in the form of unlimited file versions through pointer-based snapshots. And why are they unlimited? We touched upon this earlier. They're unlimited because we send both the data and the metadata, which is typically the harder thing to manage with snapshots, to the cloud. So if I'm sending it to Azure or Amazon or Google, I don't have any limit on the number of objects that I can create in a storage target. As a result of that, I can do as many snapshots as I want. So we have a client now that has about 180 terabytes of what we call now data, the primary data footprint, and they have over probably 210 total in the cloud, and they have 1 million snapshots. I mean, as a former administrator, I can't see the reason for that, but it's good to have the option if you need it. So that's a big number. Easily achieved for us because we leverage that object storage. So now on the other other features like file sync and file acceleration. What this means is we can synchronize the activities of people, whether they're at their desk at the office and whether they're at home. So we've made a great announcement recently about an acquisition that's going to help us make that even a more robust scenario. And we also are able to accelerate files if they're being shared and viewed across geographic locations. We have this concept of global file locking, which is really cool because at some point in the past, we've all worked at an organization where we sit in a facility and I access a file and my neighbor 2 desks down tries to access the file and they say, hey, Jeff is working on this right now. So we're going to make sure that he's able to save it before you get a copy of it. Great news. That makes for good quality data. We do the same thing but my coworker, I'm in Southern California, my coworker can be in London or in somewhere in the Middle East. It doesn't really matter. We manage that through a locking server. And there's also application integration. And this is important for 2 reasons. One, we don't require users of Nisuni in order to access cloud storage with REST API, to change anything they do in terms of SMB or NFS at the application level or their workloads. That's super important because it makes it easier to move to the cloud. And on top of that, we also have a great caching algorithm. And the average, because we can see the statistics, is about 98% of data comes from the cache, which is at the edge. And so there's no concept of going back to the cloud for data at a regular interval, which means that the performance experience is retained. That's a good thing. So how does this all translate into the Nist framework? Well, here's a little ticket here. If you look at the bottom graphic, we've been able to do the protect and recover for a long time. There are 2 interesting things about that. One, I don't know if you can see that slide. It's pretty small, but it's worth going to our website and looking at it. It basically has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that take longer to do in your daily life than recover 1 million files with Nisuni. That takes us 37 seconds. Please go see the demo. That's the original thing that we've been doing for a long time. And because of that, here's a bold statement, nobody that has ever protected their files with a Nisuni platform has paid a ransom on them for encryption. It just doesn't happen. And that's a good thing to say to people because, look, despite our best effort, there's a huge surface area. Ransomware gets in the front door, and we want to be that line of defense that allows the administrators and users and our clients to go up to say, I can get this back to the most recent form. So we'll talk about how that works in a little bit. But we still have to do 2 other things. We have to figure out how to detect and respond to these events. Okay, adding detect and respond to protect and recover. Look, this is integrated with us. You know, I said that that's important. Having one tool to manage this process is always better than having tool. So we developed this on top of our file data services platform as an additional service. So we added the capability to first address the detect. So what it does is it, in real time, looks for the files that are coming into the system that are touching the edge. And when one of those has exhibited some funny business, you know, whether it's a malicious incoming file pattern, like suspicious file extension or ransom note, the ransomware protection service quickly identifies all those impacted files. And it also identifies the source of the attack, which can be cool because you don't want to resolve an attack and have the same character create another problem for you. Because let's say ransomware is patient and it's persistent. So with that in mind, the next step is what do you do about it? So the system emails and sends notifications on all of these exposures at this point. And of course, this is an evolution of what we've been doing for since the inception of our product, that capability of snapshots and recovery. this evolution will continue to grow. So for right now, it sends an email and makes a notification that says, hey, you've got an issue here. Here are the affected files, and here is where it came from, and here are the points that you need to recover from to address the issue. So first, a little bit about how that works or how it looks. And to run through this, step one here is you've been using the Nasuni data file data services platform to capture snapshot image or file versions, as we call them. And you could do this up to a minute, every minute if you wanted to. And that, because we have an infinite number of snapshots, you won't run out of 1,000 limitation in a particular day, right? So that's already occurring. And a ransomware attack comes in to a given user or through an application and is captured at the edge. Now, when the edge makes the snapshot, it reviews it, and that's when we know that there's a problem. So in step two, we have detected it at the edge. And step three is we respond to you and say, here's the file that you want to take. It's the green file in here, and you go back to the last iteration for that. So whatever your snapshot frequency is, remember this thing, it'll, as many recovery points as you want, up to a minute recovery points. It'll detect it in line at the edge. It will complain to you and send you a note and give you a recovery point that you can recover very quickly. So the RTO is actually measured in minutes in these cases. That's significant. And, one of the other things to think about is, unlike a backup system, remember, there's no translation involved with this. It's just a pointer-based recovery, so it's very, very, very fast. No data movement involved. Okay, again, why is that important? Well, I think it's very important as somebody who's noodled about this for 30 years, but I don't protect my own environment. I have an exceptional IT team that helps us out with that. So I'd rather have a customer of ours have a conversation with you through this slide about it. So we've been doing this, what they would, the before for quite some time. And Leo A. Daly, the individual who experienced this, has been public about it. And you can go to our website and see him discuss the situation. And before, it would take them, about 12 hours to assess the damage and determine all of the files and users involved across all the 27 locations. So the good news is the data is there, but before this detect and respond capability, you had to detect it yourself while you were responding to it at the same time. So a 12-hour system down situation is not something any of us want to face in our businesses. Now, what we do now is a little different story, right? So, with these new ransomware detection features, our teams are kept in a high alert of malicious ransomware behavior and can get right to the remediation and recovery. I'm not a big fan of reading slides, but I love that quote. If I were in this situation, I would be very happy to be able to leverage this capability. Okay. In closing, I would like to, I wish I'd thought of this before, because I think that achieving the next generation data protection and disaster recovery with Nasuni file data services could have been increased to include things like threat detection and threat response, because that's what we do. And Nasuni can help our clients address the next generation system to protect us with, as described here. But it's also the way to deploy the Nist cybersecurity framework, because all of the things required to deploy that are included in this single integrated solution. And that's important. And to review, those are protect, right? Data is protected in cost-efficient, immutable, durable, object storage with continuous file versioning, easy for me to say. We detect ransomware detection of the latest and emergent ransomware attacks live as they happen against your enterprise files. Respond, alert, and email notifications with logging of impacted files and source users. This helps you pinpoint the culprit of the attack and rapidly restore the impacted files with laser precision. And rapid recovery of millions of files in minutes to minimize downtime and avoid paying ransomware to attackers or to recover from another disaster. So I'd like to say thank you for your time. Again, thank you to the Actual Tech Media Group. I hope this was valuable for you. And while it was more of a blog than a deep technology dive, I think it's important to understand the concepts first. And of course, we are available to address any questions, comments, or as a friend of mine used to say that I worked with when I was in IT, statements of outrage that you might have about this. And with that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions, comments, or statements of outrage.
I like statements of outrage. We did actually get a high five from an existing customer who wanted you to know that he's very happy and loves the customer service. I was going to say, unfortunately, we're almost entirely out of time. But you know what, Jeff? Actually, the last 10 questions that came in were all really about ransomware, and I think you answered all of them. So hopefully we hit a lot of those. We also had some questions about Nist, and you hit on that. So I think we're unfortunately going to have to wrap there. But I do want to mention to everyone again, and you know what? Sorry, I'm going to make sure that I get this poll up. Please do take a moment right now and answer this poll. This is a great opportunity to let Jeff and the team know what information you would like to get from Nisuni. So this is a direct opportunity to reach out. Please do take a moment and fill that out. Jeff, and again, I'm so sorry that we're going to have to wrap this up. I don't know if you have some time to hang out on live chat, but you'll also get all of these questions after the fact. So everyone in the audience will get an answer today or shortly thereafter. I don't want to commit you to a 24-hour timeline. One last question for you before you head out. If somebody is really chomping at the bit, ready to get started, or certainly to learn more, what do you recommend? How do they get started here?
I think the best way to do it is to either go through a partner that you work with to have a conversation, or a great way to get started is just to call our corporate headquarters or send in a request. So it's nisuni.com and ask for a demonstration. And if you do that, please say that you heard it on here, because I have a bet with Amanda that we're going to get a good response. So hopefully I've been valuable to you. And thank you to the customer that raised your hand. We really appreciate it. Our focus was on making your life easy. And if we're doing it, the high fives here seems like we are. So thank you very much. I'll pause. Enjoy the rest of the day, team, and looking forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you, Jeff. Much appreciated. I hope you win your bet with Amanda. I hope she forgives you for the spelling error. Amanda, thank you for cheering us on from the wings. You have a great day, Jeff. All right, well, let's keep buzzing right along here, and I am going to jump us into our very last prize giveaway. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not very last, second to last, don't panic. So we have another Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give. This is penultimate. I've been wanting to use that word all day. Our penultimate prize, another Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give away, plus a $500 Amazon gift card. So up next, the Amazon gift card. And again, I'm going to remind you guys, you must be present at the webinar to win. Okay, so Manas Mohanty of California, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. So Manas Mohanty. And our next grand prize winner of a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone is Amber Sloan of Kentucky. Amber Sloan, you have won a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone. Good Lord. Congratulations to Manis and to Amber. As always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after the event. Now, folks, I have to say, every week I say this to you all, I am always surprised when we get to our very last session. These sessions just fly by. And here we are at our grand finale, and I promise you it will not disappoint, because to bring us on home today, I am very excited to introduce us to our very last and obviously extra awesome speaker, Adam Marget, Product Marketing at Unitrends. Adam, great to have you here with us again. I know you've got tons of great content as always to cover, so I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you.
Hey, Jeff, thank you very much. And hopefully I can live up to the billing. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you, my friend.
All right, excellent. Well, let's jump right in, and hello everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for sticking along to the end of our Megacast. But as Jess had mentioned, my name is Adam Margett. I'm the product marketing manager here with Unitrends. I've been a member of the team for about 6 years. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our platform and how we're helping folks combat a lot of the threats out there. I've caught a little bit of some of the other presentations. There are folks that, they're talking about phishing, they're talking about ransomware, they're talking about compliance, but even when it comes to just dealing with backup and what that means for you or for your admins or your technicians on a day-to-day basis, we talk to organizations of all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and we hear folks struggling with a lot of the same challenges. Our environments have changed. Backup has become incredibly fragmented. We're seeing more than 3+ unique or disparate solutions to protect our data center, our evolution into SaaS apps, our movement into the cloud-native applications. We've got a ton of different threat vectors out there, and it's become a real juggling act for a lot of IT pros to try and keep pace. It's manual and error-prone. A lot of these tools, backup sucks. We joke about it all the time. I work for a backup company. Recovery is incredible. Recovery is fun. Recovery is glamorous, but backup is a challenge. And a lot of times, you're spending your day doing these low-value tasks, that ongoing troubleshooting, that management, making sure that we've got good backups. Are we able to test our backups? Why did this backup fail? Now we're going under the hood and trying to find, one particular little VSS writer that had maybe failed and is out of state. And, we mentioned earlier that evolution of our environment. Is your backup approach able to grow and scale as your organization is? If you went to your vendor today that's protecting your on-premise exchange, and you said, hey, I'm going to decommission this server and move my email into Office 365, for example, can you protect me up there? Can I move my license? Are you going to have that flexibility? How's that conversation going to go? At Unitrends, we're aiming to solve those challenges and more with our platform that we call Unified BCDR. And really the key to Unified BCDR is giving you 3 core approaches to protect the different assets across your data center or across your organization. We really see these 3 approaches in our hybrid cloud appliances, which are designed for those data center workloads, as well as infrastructure as a service. We've got a cloud-to-cloud backup solution for your core SaaS applications, Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, and Salesforce, as well as direct-to-cloud technology that we've hardened and taken from some of our original file-level technology and brought that into the endpoint use case. So you can directly back up endpoints into the cloud without the need to land those backups on a local appliance or have them connecting to the network, because we know that those road warriors are not always great about connecting into the VPN or coming into the home office. With those different tools, we've injected what we would call data loss prevention. It's a combination of artificial intelligence or automation that's aimed at reducing the frequency and the severity of data loss events. We're going to explore these in a little bit more detail, but they include things like AI-based ransomware detection, proactive dark web monitoring, and integrated phishing defense for your end users. We certainly know that things never go as expected, so the ability to recover how and where you need from individual files, bare metal restores of rebuilding servers from scratch after a malware or a ransomware attack, the ability to spin up new virtual machines, even through invisible failover to an alternate site or potentially the Unitrends cloud. When we talk a little bit about our topology and how you can deploy, you're going to see that we've got a lot of flexibility in terms of how we can build out that recovery and that DR scenario for you and meet the needs of each unique customer's environment. The last piece, again, is injecting automation, not just for those data loss prevention use cases, but also to solve some of the challenges that we talked about on that earlier slide. Automating away issues in production. We're bringing some of our technology into that infrastructure use case. Intelligent alerting so that you can cut through some of that noise and really focus on the issues that matter, errors or things that might pop up that would directly impact you being able to meet your business objectives or your SLAs, and of course the ability to automate DR. It's kind of a common theme out there. We talk to a ton of people all the time, and most of them are not able to test their backups or test their DR runbooks as often as they would like to, or as often as they know that they should be. And we give you one place to manage all of this. We've talked a lot about a lot of different approaches, a lot of things coming together, but it really starts with our centralized hub, what we call the UniView. You've got a global dashboard to manage all of these different approaches. You can kind of see up in the left there in that sort of teal box, a very easy menu to navigate through those 3 different approaches. So you could think about consuming these different solutions in sort of a modularized fashion, and whatever the approach that you need for your business today is the one that you can lean into. Maybe it is starting with that SaaS protection, and then you evolve and want to deploy, a purpose-built data center appliance. as your organization changes, you're not spinning up new interfaces. You've got that one central place to go to manage the entire platform. And I do want to say hi to Andy out there in the chat. Welcome, welcome. The idea between our hybrid cloud appliances, or behind them really, kind of our core solution, is to reduce or eliminate that sort of DCDR Frankenstein that's evolved over time. There are so many different components and kind of supplemental aspects to backup and recovery, and a lot of those pieces being stitched together means that you're relying on different products that maybe are cosmetically integrated, but they don't have that deep workflow integration to really optimize that efficiency. So we've converged all of the functionality that you need into what we call our turnkey appliance. Not only is it the engines for backup and recovery, it's got that localized storage, but it also has your engines for recovery testing, global adaptive deduplication that's run as an inline process against all backups as we begin to ingest them, WAN acceleration. So what I'm getting at here is that you don't need gateways, you don't need proxies, you're not bringing in expensive third-party storage, because we've delivered that all in one turnkey appliance. What you see on the screen here are different flavors of our physical appliances, but you could also leverage existing storage and compute resources to deploy our virtual appliance, which you can run on top of VMware, Hyper-V, or Nutanix. And I saw a question earlier from, I believe it was Marvin, about solutions that are built or aimed towards the MSPs. And Marvin, I would call out our Recovery Series Max and our Ion series, which are kind of on the lower end in terms of the overall storage capacity, but they're very low profile, small form factor appliances that are super charged with compute and storage, and they're great for some of those remote sites or customer sites where they may have very limited infrastructure, maybe a singular host or a singular VM, where we've got some additional capacity and some additional horsepower on those appliances to host on-the-box failover. Now, with regards to what the deployment of a Unitrend solution would look like, is with our core data center appliances, whether it's physical or virtual, you can protect more than 250 versions of applications, operating systems, and hypervisors. So your file-level backups, image-based backups, host-level or VM snapshots, specific control over applications, all the different agents or approaches that you would need are going to be included or compatible with these appliances. It's not, stitching together one solution that can write off to tape and one solution that's great with your VMs. We can do a little bit of everything. Now, in terms of where you want to send that data to and how we're building out our DR strategy, we're going to sort of hearken on the traditional rule of 3-2-1 backup, where we want to get a backup or a copy really designated for long-term archiving. Preferably, this would be physically disconnected from the production network using removable media such as disk or tape, but it could be an alternative storage device or location or a recovery archive long-term retention settings on your Unitrends appliance. The disadvantage to the long-term archiving approach is that often cases when we're writing off of Unitrends and onto third-party media, the rehydration process is going to take some time, and that's going to impact our overall recovery time objective. Now, through that single screen of management, as we had mentioned, you can choose to replicate to our cloud. We've got a proprietary cloud service that's specifically tuned for the long-term retention of your data and our disaster recovery as a service, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that entails. You could also leverage one of our virtual appliances that's deployed through the public cloud. You could go directly to the AWS or the Azure Marketplace, deploy a Unitrends AMI, Amazon Machine Image, or an Azure VM, and use that as a replication target. Or if you've got multiple sites or multiple locations, you could land those backups at your second site onto another Unitrends appliance. Regardless of which direction you go, we're storing these backups in a hot state, so they're immediately available for recovery, and you're going to be able to use all the different recovery options at that VR site, instant recovery, carving out or building out replicas proactively, bare metal restore, so on and so forth, at that second appliance because you're landing it on fully deployed Unitrends code. The biggest difference is that with that cloud DR as a service, you're going to find, as you'll see in a moment here, that our team's going to be doing all of that heavy lifting. Now, the spanning piece is separate. We're going to talk to that as well. But the Unitrends Direct-to-Cloud is a lightweight file-level agent that's installed on the PCs or the laptops that you want to protect. Again, it's going to pair directly to an instance, a dedicated instance for you in the Unitrends cloud, where we will store those backups. They're immediately available for recovery. The other thing I'd like to add about our cloud is that there are no fees for egress or recovering that data out. Your data, you can access it when you want it directly through that same interface that you saw earlier. So you're managing all of those different approaches, the cloud environment as well, through the same global dashboard. Now, to make sure that we're taking good, consistent backups with the goal of solving some of those challenges in the infrastructure use case, we've brought in Helix. And what Helix is out there to do is it's looking for opportunities in your environment to remediate, things that would impact a backup from being successful. This could be there's not enough disk space to mount a VMDK before a snapshot. There's a VSS writer on a failed state on a SQL or an Exchange server. It's out there looking for these conditions, and it's got a run book of remediation actions, to take, and it will do so quietly and unobtrusively in the background, with the goal being before a backup runs, we're meeting that success criteria within the environment. So rather than coming in on a Monday morning to a host of failed backups from the weekend, the alarms are going off, it's all red, your inbox is flooded with alerts, you might come into an email that looks something like on your screen where Helix detailed an action that was taken. Kind of an unintended use case that I want to share, and it's really interesting with the way in which some of these threat actors are attacking backups today. Our customers, we've had customers report to support that Helix has helped them catch ransomware in the early stages. They got an alert for a particular issue or writer on a server. Service had been failed, it was corrected. The next day, they get that same issue that was fixed. A third day, same issue that was fixed. And they're thinking, this should be a healthy server. We don't know of any issues underlying with this client. So when they went to investigate, they found that there was malware that was attempting to disable those services before it would propagate further. So it was triggering Helix over and over and over. So not only will it keep your environment clean and free of errors, there's a free version that you can opt into with regards to your appliances. It will automatically download and apply updates. You do have to opt in. We're not going to force you to do that, but you'll easily and autonomously benefit from the latest security and feature patches through the use of Helix. Now, we touched on ransomware a little bit, and I think the resilience that we've built into our platform is really key here, and it starts with being able to prevent the attack. Unitrends appliances are deployed on a Harden Linux kernel that lies outside of the Windows attack surface, and the hierarchical nature of the Linux operating system makes it very, very unlikely when following best practices that a threat actor would gain the level of root access necessary to enact changes or to encrypt the backup repository. Of course, we want to be replicating that data off-site, fulfilling our best practices. As we had mentioned, that could be something to the Unitrends cloud where we store your data immutably. No external source can modify, edit, or delete that data. You can't do so through your local appliance, even though you're an authorized user. Both for compliance and security perspectives, any deletion request will either occur at the end of the data's specified retention period or through a specific request through our support team, but it's not something where ad hoc a compromised credential could result in cloud data being compromised. From a detection standpoint, all of the Unitrends appliances are equipped with a machine learning algorithm that establishes baseline patterns of behavior for the assets across your environment that we are protecting. When we see a significant deviation in those baseline patterns, it triggers an alert through our UI dashboards, our email notifications. We start to flag suspected backups so that they won't be used in recovery, so that you can go in and investigate the root of that anomaly further. Now, I do want to be warning here that this is a behavior-based detection method, so there is the risk of false positives, but it does give you some of that visibility. It can be a great complement to things like signature-based detection systems that you may already be using today. Just another set of eyes and kind of looks at your data through a different scope that's something that's searching for known signatures or known variants. The last piece that we're going to touch on is our recovery assurance, and I think that this is probably my favorite feature. It's one of our customers' favorite features. There are a lot of folks out there that are testing backups to some extent. They might go and attempt to recover a file off of the appliance. They might perform something like screenshot verification. And screenshot verification is a great first step. We can do that, but recovery assurance is so much more. It removes all of the excuses that we hear, the excuses that you might hear from your team. Testing takes time. It can disrupt production systems. It can cost money. It's expensive. It can be cumbersome. We're removing those through automation, both locally and in the cloud, to execute your DR runbook. What you can kind of see in that screenshot there, hopefully, is that you can test for both simple and complex applications by enrolling the systems that you want to test into this particular job. From there, you're determining out the boot order dependencies, in which we'll be isolating out the different segments of the environment as we bring them online. You can reconfigure credentials, reconfigure the compute and memory if you want to see how a machine is going to perform, if you need to throttle down the CPU and RAM based on what's available at the DR site. You can test those sorts of things to ensure that even down to the application services level, your backups are fully recoverable. So So you're able to detect potential recovery obstacles and issues. We generate a compliance report. We're also tracking recovery point and recovery time actuals. That's easily exportable, so you can hand that to the compliance officer or use it as an artifact for your DR plan. And we're going to certify those recovery points. So once a backup has been tested by recovery assurance, it physically is going to look different and be reported on differently through a different color schema within the appliance, so you can easily see the verified recovery points that you have available to you on the system. This is run in automation, so there is no more guessing. You've got orchestrated recovery, and you're going to know what that downtime impact would look like through predictable recovery times and procedures. Another really nice use case, as we've been talking about ransomware, is the ability to use that same recovery assurance job to spin up an isolated lab environment. Now, in normal times, this might be a great tool for DevOps, for QA testing, for patch testing, but we've also seen customers using this functionality after a ransomware attack, and I'll give you one example. There's a customer of ours that's headquartered down in Texas. They're a large chemical treatment facility that has operations across the globe. They were hit with a ransomware attack over the summer that impacted hundreds of VMware VMs at locations across multiple continents. It was really pretty nasty. Fortunately, while a lot of their production environment was encrypted, another backup vendor that they were using in tandem with Unitrends was encrypted, their Unitrends box was not affected by this attack. So once they were able to go through the triage and the mitigation efforts, they were getting ready to identify the good backups that they had and restore them into production. When they notified their cyber insurance provider that they were preparing to fail over, insured said, wait, hold on one second. Have you performed a certain degree of testing so that we can be clean and confident that the backups that you are restoring into production are not infected with malware? We've seen a lot of these sleeper malwares. We can't have this ticking time bomb where the malware is going to detonate again after you've collected on your premium. So what the company did was use that instant lab function to orchestrate the spin up of these isolated lab environments. There's no network connectivity. There are no NICs here that are being connected in, but in batches of 10 or so, they spun the VMs up. They executed their recovery assurance testing to ensure that from a functionality standpoint, the backups were working. They then went in with Carbon Black to perform that deep level of third-party scan to ensure the backups were clean and free of the ransomware. So they used that lab functionality to orchestrate a recovery that both met business continuity goals and their insurance requirements so that they were able to get paid out on their premium. So the Unitrends DRAS, and I know, Jess, I'm keeping my eye on the time here, so I'll move quickly. But the Unitrends DRAS is a little bit of a differentiator, and somebody asked in the chat, a main differentiator between Unitrends and one of our competitors. And I know for a fact that our competitor does not offer this disaster recovery as a service. We're always focused on, how are we going to get that data back? A lot of folks, I'm not saying it's you out there, but there are a lot of folks that are thinking about backup and not necessarily through what's going to be required for recovery. Now, depending on the type of DR event, we work with customers all over. We've seen hurricanes in Florida, flooding in the Midwest, tornadoes in, a little bit east of the Rocky Mountains, all sorts of disasters that could impact the local site. And when your hair is on fire, and especially when human safety is concerned, there are so many different aspects to run through that go beyond simply the technology piece. So our team can work as an extension of yours. In those instances, what you will do is you're replicating data to the Unitrends cloud, and you can enroll either an entire data set or just your choice mission-critical machines into our DR service, and we'll upload that DR runbook, kind of similar to how we're building out that recovery assurance testing. We're going to load out your DR runbook to specify exactly what the environment needs to look like, as well as the failover response. When an authorized personnel makes a declaration, you're simply calling our support team. We will then fail over and bring your environment up in our cloud. We help you reroute traffic and your users through an SSL VPN, typically through that IPsec tunnel. And you can run in our cloud and maintain production until you're ready to return back down to the local site. Now, as you're running with us, we continue to take backups. So when you are ready to fail back, we can reverse feed those backups either onto a NAS device or onto a brand new appliance, so we can overnight that to you. You start to begin that local import, and then you can start to, begin that local import, and we'll track down any last Delta changes over those handful of days or hours back down over the WAN. But we're not going to try and stuff terabytes and terabytes back down through that pipe. The other piece of the solution that I wanted to touch on is our spanning cloud apps, which is a cloud-to-cloud backup solution for Microsoft 365, for G Suite, and Salesforce.com. It's a cloud-native, purpose-built solution to help protect your organization's critical SaaS data from loss caused by human error, malicious behavior, sync errors, ransomware, malware attacks. And one of the things that's really unique about spanning is that you can enable your end users as well as your admins to perform their own recoveries to reduce some of that help desk volume and some of those tickets. They can quickly find and restore data through their particular scope. You can limit what backups they have access to so that they can go back and find a file or something off of a SharePoint site that they mistakenly deleted. Now, the really interesting thing about spanning is that it is, as I had mentioned, entirely cloud-based. So there's no local storage or appliance that you need to manage. It's really easy to install and figure. If you go to spanning.com, you can find something like setup in 50 seconds or 70 seconds. It's pretty incredible. So your users are up and running. You're protecting those SaaS environments in literally minutes. Now, from a security perspective, we're accessing the tenant through OAuth 2.0, which is more secure than creating a service account that's got elevated privileges, and that could just end up being another account with the potential to be compromised. So once you grant that authorization, you can start assigning licenses out to users via your interface or through our APIs. Now, the data centers that we're storing the data in are not within Microsoft. They're actually within AWS. So you've got some kind of inter-cloud redundancy. But we've got SOC 2 Type 2 certified data centers that are regularly completing the rigorous audits of security procedures and processes. We're protecting all of your data at rest and in flight with 256-bit AES object level encryption. And all data in transit is also protected with SSL encryption. The two things that you see up there, the dark web monitoring and the phishing defense, are two really key, I think, security integrations that we've built into the product to help reduce the frequency and the occurrence of data loss and downtime events, especially with the uptick in social engineering attacks that we've seen today. The phishing defense is through our sister company, Graphis, and it's fully integrated into Spanning to provide you with 3 layers of email security via their patented AI technologies. But at the outcome here is we're going to analyze more than 50 different attributes of employee communications, including the devices that they're using, who they're messaging most, what times of day that they are communicating, to establish profiles of trusted relationships. With there, we can compare incoming communications to those profiles to detect and prevent sophisticated phishing and spear phishing and those types of attacks. You may have seen, a lot of the attacks that are going around now. They're impersonating executives or CEOs, and folks are very quick to click through. The employee shield is what you see in our screen capture there. We're alerting and engaging employees with visual cues. They can quarantine suspicious emails with a click at the top of the banner, and those workflows and feedback loops are automated to help speed the resolution and detection through for IT. The other piece, kind of complementing hand in hand with the Graphis, is our dark web monitoring service, which is helping to protect credentials by taking a proactive view. Email is the primary target for hacking and fraud, and exploiting weak or stolen credentials is their #1 technique. So we're alerting administrators to compromised or stolen employee credentials, that enable you to take proactive steps to secure those accounts before any malicious activity occurs. You can even see in kind of the screenshot that we've blown up here, we'll highlight out that password link. So you can say to the user, hey, Adam, does your password begin with, XYZ? And Adam says, yikes, it does. You probably should change that password. But we're looking at more than 600 different thousand botnets, criminal chat rooms, message boards, and other kind of black market relay sites to pull and aggregate this data and present it to you. So when we look at what we're starting to drive at, when we look at those problems that we talked about earlier, from being fragmented, how do you be complete and how do you be unified? And being able to protect data in all these different locations, it's not just the backup side of things. We're expanding into account takeover protection, that phishing defense, that human protection. And we really feel that being able to do all of that in one place, one user through single sign-on, with one call to support it all, that's a big part of the simplicity of being complete. It doesn't mean that we're shoehorning your O365 data onto a local archiver. That approach might not be right for data in the cloud. It's all about giving you the different options to leverage the approach that's right for your data, your environment, and your recovery objectives. We've still got some ways to go, but we've made a lot of headway in getting there. With regards to automation and the way people are attacking things, they want your backups to fail. And that's where we talked about Helix, solving issues in your environment that are out of control of a particular backup vendor. Ensuring that you've got good backups, reliable backups, bringing that automation of infrastructure components into the backup use case, we feel is another way that we're starting to differentiate. And when we think about being priced right, it's not just about that initial price tag, but is it flexible and is it predictable? We talk to a ton of users about the cloud and the unpredictability in what you're going to pay depending on how you implement it. That's where, we're taking an approach with our cloud that's a little bit more specific around your data size. Initially, what that initial footprint is going to look like, not how much data is going to be in the cloud after you've built up 5 years of retention. That's something that's going to help. But going back to our earlier example, as you're shifting from one approach to the next, that on-prem data is now moving into the cloud or into a SaaS application. You've got the ability to future-proof that with the platform. And there's more to come here. We're still working on some things, but we are very, very excited about what's been coming. So here, I would encourage folks to visit unitrends.com to get started. You can reach out to us at email info@unitrends.com. My LinkedIn was on there earlier, but you can find me. I don't know of any other Adam Margets that are working for Unitrends. Marget would love to connect. If you'd like to reach out, we would be happy to help you. I'll turn things back over to Jess here to see if we have any Q&A, if we've got some time left. I know I ran a couple minutes over.
It's been a theme today, Adam. We were just laughing about that. There's a lot of great information to cover with this stuff, and it's really hard to keep it into the 24-minute time slot we have. You covered a lot of great information. We do have some awesome questions coming in. I am going to put up that poll here for us. So please do let us know what further information you would like to get from Unitrends. And you can see there's a nice concise list here. Unitrends really wants to know what information they can get to you to kind of follow up on this. I do also just want to say before we get swept off in our questions that there's an incredible ebook in the handout section. So if you haven't been following along in the handout section with each one of our speakers, please do click, open those tabs, download those resources, save those for later. But the ebook from Unitrends, 5 Steps to Building Your Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery Solution, is just really comprehensive, engaging, concise. Definitely go check it out. Okay, so let's do a very, very quick question or two because we're already over. But since you're our last session, Adam, I'm bending a little bit on my time frame. Okay, so I'd love to ask you a little bit about immutability because that came up a few times, and we did have some questions about what exactly is immutability, and some people have asked today things like, well, sure, is anything immutable, or the right person or the right person with the wrong access or does the wrong thing. But we have a question here about Unitrends appliances offering local immutability.
I would be really, really careful about that. We hear a lot of vendors talking about local immutability or immutability, and I think, Jess, you make a great question. Folks are talking about it. It's a buzzword. I was doing a training for one of our distribution partners, and there was an SE in the back, and he kind of nudges his buddy before I begin, and he says, what's the bet this guy talks about immutability? Local immutability typically is a feature that's going to be enabled at the repository level, either when you're creating a new backup repository or modifying an existing one. So commonly, what's being used is a native file system feature to flag the quote-unquote immutable attribute within the backup chain of applicable files. There are a number of risks still to keeping even quote-unquote immutable data on premises. Should a threat actor gain access to the backup system through a compromised or a privileged account, they could disable that GUI toggle. We've seen a lot of dormancy that's built into these attacks where they're not detonating right away, so they may be waiting for those immutability flags to be cycled out of stored backups. The other risk is that you've got the backup index that's still going to be stored on premise, and you've got other threat vectors that may be open environments, especially with limited infrastructure if you've got a single server fulfilling multiple roles. Now, I hesitate and I don't want to call Unitrends appliances immutable, but we deploy those appliances I mentioned earlier, written in Harden Linux, which lies outside of the Windows attack surface. AV-Test Security 2021 report revealed that about 85% of all malware created in the last 24 months was designed to target and penetrate Windows systems. So we are camouflaged from those Windows targeted malware. We talked about that hierarchical nature of the Linux architecture, but I also think that, on top of the monitoring for anomalous activity, the testing backups, the best way to truly prevent or protect backups from ransomware is to replicate them off-site, to get them off of that production network. It's not a network accessible location, one on a SAN, or it's something that's disconnected. That physical media, maybe disk or tape, or a secondary cloud or proprietary cloud location that's written, or that the data is written to. Now, Unitrends Cloud, we do store data in an immutable format. Once that data is written to the cloud target, those objects cannot be modified, changed, or otherwise deleted until the end of their specified retention period, or through a specific request that goes through our support team. You can grab and download those backups back, but you cannot modify them once they are stored on the Unitrends Cloud target. So I know it was a long answer. I want to be careful around immutability, and as the marketing guy, I don't want to tell you things that we can't do. So hopefully that kind of puts it in context and answers that question.
That's awesome. Well, and we've gotten a couple of folks chiming in to say that they're already fans of the presentation. Definitely some feedback on having the consolidated console being a really handy thing and something that's apparently much needed by the audience. We had someone who said you answered so many questions as you presented that they had no other questions. So I feel like you've wrapped us up on a nice, tidy little package and put a bow around it, Adam. I think we'll end it there. Before anyone runs away, can you remind them what their first step is if anyone's looking to get started right away with Unitrends?
So I would say, and for folks, if we didn't get to your specific question, ATM does shoot us over a list there, so we'll be sure to follow up with you. Definitely respond to our poll if you didn't have a chance to do that. Just visit us at unitrends.com. You'll find all the resources that you might be looking for. I know there were some folks looking for trial periods, free versions of licensing. You can find those on our website. We do have 30-day full-featured trials. So visit us at unitrends.com or respond to that poll question. We'd be happy to help you out in any way that we can.
Love that. All right. Well, and more high fives coming in from Deb and Deus. Definitely, as I said, Adam, you're always a great grand finale. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Jess, it was my pleasure, and thanks everyone that stuck on till the end. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, and speaking of sticking around to the end, you get a just reward here. We are going to do our very last prize giveaway. So up next, we have a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone to give away, plus a $500 Amazon gift card. We will remind you again that you must be present here at the webinar. That someone did ask, does that mean I have to ask questions? Nope, for this one, it just means you need to be present. So we will give this Amazon gift card away, and that's going to go to Jesse Medina of California. Jesse Medina of California, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our very last grand prize winner of a Google Pixel 6 Pro phone is James Meadows from North Carolina. James Meadows from North Carolina. So congratulations to Jesse and to James. Okay, well, if anyone's a fan of cowboy literature, we have Jesse James winning our prize today. I like that. Okay, well, I'm a fan of serendipity. Anyway, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after the event. So I'm going to read our prize list again. We had Jim Taylor winning a gift card, Thomas Gentry winning a grand prize, Anita Joshi won a gift card, and Alex Adams won a grand prize. Ray Crago won a gift card, and Marcus McNally won a grand prize. Manas Mohanty won a gift card, and Amber Sloan won a grand prize. Jesse Medina, you won a gift card, and James Meadows won a grand prize. Jesse James, to wrap it up there. So congratulations to all our lucky winners, and including that best question asked from each session. Again, we look at all the questions asked after the session, so even if you didn't get asked today, there is still a chance to win. So just a reminder to keep those questions coming in. Now, a few of you had some questions about kind of ransomware 101 throughout the day today. So I do want to remind you to check out the ransomware guide in our handouts tab. You're going to find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to understand, prevent, and recover. So please do check out ransomware.org for more information. Again, you can also click into our handouts tab and take a look there. Lots of great information. I know it's easy to feel a little bit left behind sometimes because everyone's talking about it, and then you realize that you're not entirely sure you know what they're talking about. So keep those questions coming in and check out ransomware.org. Now, if you are out in the audience today and you're thinking that you would like to participate in an EcoCast or a Megacast, we would love that. So just reach out to us. You can connect via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. All right. Well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank all of our incredible speakers from Zerto, TierPoint, Rubrik, Micro Focus, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nisuni, and Unitrends for making this event possible. A special thank you to all of you for attending, asking some great questions. I hope you've all learned some interesting and helpful tips today about how to approach your own data protection strategies and disaster recovery. You know, we started at the top of the day talking about change and the need to be constantly evolving and growing. I know that's not easy, so I hope that maybe you're all feeling a little more clarity on some possible goals or tools, how to keep some sense of equilibrium in this ever-moving world that we live in. Now, before you take off today, be sure to mark your calendars for tomorrow. That's Wednesday already, July 27th. We have an awesome Tech Talk session with Data Stacks and Pure Storage, where we will be exploring data foundations, so choosing the right database, SQL, NoSQL, etc., and the right operating environment, on-prem versus cloud. So that starts at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And again, that is tomorrow. I can't believe it's Wednesday already tomorrow. Happens every week, still surprising. So be sure to sign up and make sure to come hang out with us again tomorrow. We've also got an EcoCast later in this week. So lots of cool things coming up. Please do go check out the Actual Tech Media events calendar or webinar calendar and come hang out with us. Until then, I hope you all have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.